Good morning and welcome to the AM show, the Wednesday edition. On my drive to work this morning, a question plagued my mind, which I want to pose to you this morning, especially for young people in this country. What works for the Ghanaian today? What works for you? I'd like to know. So maybe you can go on our social media platforms, where else we put up the question there, and then you can answer that for me, because I'm struggling to figure out what actually works for the Ghanaian today. But if you've been following the show, you know that Denesia Poma AJ will be serving you the first news bulletin for the day, especially on the Joy News channel. And after that, we'll get into the newspaper review segment. And today, Kwame Jantwa, the energy expert and member of the CPP, will be joining us to review the stories that have been captured in the newspapers. After that, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi will bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm sure he'll tell you all about Man City's win yesterday, and then we'll pivot into our big stories. Today we have about 3 conversations coming your way, starting with the cost of dialysis as it's going up and the cry of so many kidney patients who say they cannot afford the cost of treatment. We'll discuss the surging cost of dialysis and the management of the ailment. We'll also talk about the Ghana Publishers Association, who say the increase of prices of textbook by 40% from June is as it accuses the Education Ministry of owing them 320 million Ghana cedis. Also, GUTA is raising some red flags on the Cedi depreciation, which they say is heavily impacting their businesses. So we have all these conversations on our table, but we'd also go out for Citizens Microphone, where we hear from the business community on how all these issues are affecting them. So welcome aboard the AM show, and of course you're invited to join us with your comments, with your thoughts on phone or across all social media platforms. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akako. Up next is the news. Stay with us.
Hello, good morning. It's midweek. My name is Denesia Pomaije, and this is the AM News. The Krase MA Basic School in the Ejisu municipality of Ashanti region lacks basic academic resources, making it hard to provide quality education. A common feature among the pupils is worn-out school uniforms and dilapidated school buildings. Amponsa Efa Pharmaceuticals has intervened to renovate the school building and provide the students with learning materials to improve the quality of education. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
The Krase MA Basic School is situated in a secluded area of the Ejisu municipality in the Ashanti region. Residents are mainly smallholder farmers and traders. The school has a student population of 286 in kindergarten, primary and junior high levels. But the school buildings are not in good shape. The headmaster, Evans Hanan, says some pupils are unable to afford school materials, impeding their learning outcomes.
It was beyond horrible and terrible. But you get to the school and then you see the filthy environment. I mean, talking about the walls, the children walking bare, some be walking from so many miles down to the school without even chalawate. The uniforms, I don't know what color can I give you to the uniforms. Seriously faded. Some don't have it at all. It's going to help us. 1,000 exercise books. It's going to help the children, because sometimes as a headmaster, I'll be going around to see. You go to class 2. Girl, boy, what's your book, exercise book? I don't have. And the parent is staying far away, so many miles away.
A needs assessment conducted in the school informed an intervention from Amponsa Efa Pharmaceutical Limited to renovate the dilapidated areas of the school, including the headmaster's office. The company donated teaching and learning materials, including a printer and exercise books. The school also received 200 school uniforms, 15 sporting jerseys, and 100 pairs of footwears. Head of Marketing at Amponsa Efa Pharmaceutical Limited, Fojifa Ametime, says the intervention forms part of the company's corporate social responsibility.
As a company operating within Ejisu municipality, it behoves on us and through corporate social responsibility to find institutions, individuals and organizations around the operating area that need assistance. So we've been doing it every year, and luckily this year the lot fell on Okrasi Basic School. So we came here first to look at their condition. We scanned the environment to see which areas they would need our help, and then we went back and reorganized and then came back to assist.
The headmaster of Krasi MA Basic School, Evan Tanan, appreciated the gesture to aid teaching and learning.
This is a rural school, but the package Amponsa Ifa pharmaceutical company has brought, I think we go beyond the line. We are building a library. Look at the kindergarten, the KGs. They don't have playing ground. Soon as we get them, I think we will equate ourselves to those schools at Accra or Kumasi.
Community members, including chiefs, the headmaster, all believe the intervention will go a long way to improve the learning outcomes of kids and students here. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabwa.
It's a vast land at Sapeliga, a border community in the Upper West region, where both the young and the old from Ghana and Burkina Faso engage in illegal mining. But in a move facilitated by the Ghana Boundary Commission, the Upper East Regional Security Council has asked the miners to pack their equipment and leave. There's more in the following report.
Hundreds of illegal miners have gathered on this site. Many of them attempted fleeing after seeing the personnel from the Upper East Regional Security Council and the Ghana Boundary Commission, but they were asked to stay. Here, one of them who spoke on behalf of the group, Abil Fatau, said some of them used the money from the Galamsey to fund their education.
It's going to be big distance to the society as where we all live. All of us depend on this. Apart from this, there's no source of income we get. On the there's no dam apart from rainy season we farm. There's no dam around here that they will think that we should go and farm. There's no dam, nothing is there. Where we get to eat is scarce here. The women all come and sell their pure water. All the farm, those are the market. This is where they all depend on. This is where they all depend. They make their interest on everything, they make it on this. So if they are asking us to vacate on this, and without giving us another alternative to also go and get something on it, I think it's going to be a big harm to the society.
The Ghana Boundary Commission facilitated the exercise to clamp down on the activities of the illegal miners. Its Commissioner General, Major General Imano Kotia, said the illegal miners, through the activities, continue to destroy Ghana's boundary pillars with Burkina Faso. He said this can lead to disagreements between the two countries if the boundaries are not well defined.
One, there were a lot of interferences so far as our boundary line is concerned. Some of these activities led to the removal of international boundary pillars, and for that matter, there was no clarity so far as the markings of the boundary is concerned. And then, because we have quite a sizable number of people coming from Burkina Faso to do a lot of illegal activities here, if we don't take care, whereas these boundary pillars are removed, some of our territories can be taken or probably can be declared as part of Burkina Faso because these markings are not visible on the ground. That is the reason why, one, we have decided to facilitate the construction of the patrol routes, and that also serves as a marking to the international boundary pillar because just 20 meters away from it. One of the reasons why actually we facilitated the RESEC to come here is for them to understand what is ongoing here, so that RESEC plays a very key role so far as the territorial sovereignty of the country is concerned, especially regions that have boundaries with our neighbors. So we work in collaboration with RESEC to ensure that our boundaries are secure.
Aside from degrading the environment, the head of the Upper East Regional Security Council and the Regional Minister, Fisbin Salis, says terrorists can exploit the unregulated and illegal mining ongoing in the area to fund their nefarious activities.
No. So this time, as I indicated, we've come on a friendly mood. The next time is not going to be this way. Right now, Faso, there are insurgents there, and there are terrorists who want to infiltrate into our country. And to be able to perpetrate what they are doing, they need finance. So they engage in what you people are doing. So in order to save the people of this country, we want to stop issues of this nature. so that people don't have means of funding their nefarious activities. So please, it is for that reason that we are putting this measure in place, so that to save this country and to save the people of this country. We are enjoying peace, and we must appreciate the peace we are enjoying.
The minister ordered the legal miners to pack the equipment and leave the area, citing the destruction of the environment and important boundary pillars.
Please, if you want to continue to operate here, as I indicated, do the right thing. We are going to contact the Mineral Commission so that they make this place available to prospective miners, so that you'll be licensed, and then we'll give you the opportunity to operate. But what you are doing currently is unacceptable. It's highly unacceptable. So please take note and know that this is the last time that we are coming here, and this is a stern warning from the Regional Security Council. So take note and begin to pack your tools, right?
The construction of a road that will ensure regular patrols by the security agencies has stalled due to lack of funding. The head of the project is appealing for support to ensure it is completed.
So, however, there are some outstanding works that need to be completed, and this include construction of culverts on the various water crossing points, as you saw some was coming, and also laying of the gravel surface. So, on the whole, the total completed works is about 20%, just about 20%.
What are you selling?
Yes, sir. So we anticipate that within 3 months, when funding is made available, we should be able to finish. And the major challenge that we have here is the lack of funds. So despite the fact that we've raised an interim payment certificate, we are awaiting payment. The gross amount is about 7.4 million. The payment certificate is currently at the road fund and awaiting payment. So once payment is received, we will swiftly move to site and then commence project activities.
Now, the former EC boss and chair of the Ogua Fetu Afashe Planning Committee, Charlotte Osei, is calling on the people of Cape Coast to use this year's Ogua Fetu Afashe to unite and build a strong city for the present and the unborn generation. According to her, the historic city of Cape Coast deserves progress, development, and a sound socio-economic environment to improve the lives of residents. She was speaking at the launch of this year's Ogua Fetu Afashe. There's more in this report.
The Ogua Fetu Afashe is celebrated by the chiefs and people of Cape Coast every year. This year, the 60th of the festival coincided with the 25th anniversary of the enthronement of the Omahin of the Ogua traditional area, Osabre Makwesiata II. Students and other interested groups joined a procession of the chiefs and elders through the principal street of Cape Coast. Speaking at the launch, former EC boss and chairperson of the Ogua Afashe Planning Committee, Charlotte Osei, called for a redefinition of the festival by eschewing conduct that are inimical to the growth of the ancient city.
Cape Coast is a good land, and the people of Cape Coast are good people. This is our history. This is the history of our city. We must build on this history and use it to chart a better future. Our young people need skills and they need jobs. Our people need access to good health care and education. The responsibility to create opportunities for our people is in our hands. Afashe is a time of celebration. It is also a time for reconciliation. Let us bring an end to all the disputes that divide us. Afashe is a time for renewal and for rebuilding. We must use this year's Afashe as a launch pad to rebuild Cape Coast. Led by our Asafo companies and other firsts, this Afashe will be a huge celebration of our culture and our history. It is also a very significant year as we are celebrating the 25th anniversary, the silver jubilee of the enthronement of our own Omahin.
Central Regional Minister Justina Marigodasan called for unity in diversity to build a stronger city. Let me take this opportunity to thank Osabre Makwesiata II for his immense role in ensuring a peaceful city. His love for peaceful coexistence is evident now. Since I assumed my position as the regional minister 4 years ago, we have not really seen any violence in Cape Coast, and thus is impressive. Wherever there is no peace, there is no development, and even marriages do not thrive. The paramount chief of the Ogua traditional area, Osabre Makwesiata II, also called for unity in order to move the city forward.
Let's do some election stories. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has reiterated the NPP government's commitment towards strengthening new businesses through the YEA's Business Empowerment Assistance Program, where up to 10,000 businesses are required to employ 2 people who will be paid an amount of 500 cedis a month by government. A move, he says, forms part of government's job creation agenda. Dr. Bawumia made this statement in Techiman during the Youth Connect program as part of his Bunu East tour. Anna Sabit has more.
When we said we were bringing free senior high school education, my opponent said it was 419. He said it will not work. He said if he had 2 billion cedis, he would not spend it on free SHS. Well, we stuck to our vision and we implemented free SHS. And today, free SHS is working.
This is Ghana's Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia touting the NPP government's ability to introduce the free senior high school policy despite criticisms from the opposition National Democratic Congress. Dr. Bawumia noted that the free SHS policy has not only increased enrollment in the schools, but has also bridged the gender gap as well as improved the performance of students across the senior high schools.
We have increased the number of people, students in free SHS from 800,000 to 1.4 million students. And what is even more gladdening about free SHS is that now we have more girls than boys in free senior high school education. And what is even more heartening is the fact that today the performance of our students in the WACC exams has improved tremendously.
Dr. Bawumia, who was speaking in Techiman at the Youth Connect program as part of his Bunu East tour, revealed the NPP government's quest towards empowering businesses by paying recruits who will be employed by small businesses a remuneration of 500 Ghana cedis a month.
We are doing so much to help the business sector. And for people, the YEA is also going to be for 10,000 businesses. YEA is bringing out the Business Employment Assistance Program, where we can help people to get paid. They can recruit 2 people, and YEA will pay them 500 cedis a month to support the business that is hiring them.
He also revealed government's attempt towards reducing Ghana's reliance on thermal energy generation by introducing about 2,000 megawatts of electricity. A move, he said, will reduce power costs by some 50%.
We have a vision, and that vision is a bright vision for Ghana. We are going to change so much of what we are doing. We are going to move from fuel to solar power for electricity generation. We are going to bring in 2,000 megawatts of solar, and that will reduce the price of electricity by 50%.
On the issue of internet penetration, Dr. Bawumia disclosed that government is working towards making internet available across the country as well as cutting down the cost of data across all networks.
Still on elections, Member of Parliament for Yendi, Farouk Aliyu Mahama, says the rousing welcome Dr. Bawumia received on his tour puts to rest the notion that the MPP flag bearer isn't loved by Ghanaians. He says this also shows that the MPP isn't an Akan party, a reason many Ghanaians will retain the party in its quest to break the eight. Farouk Aliyu Mahama's comments come as Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia tours the savannah and northern regions this week to drum home his message to Ghanaians as he seeks election as President of Ghana.
First time a Northerner has been chosen as the presidential candidate. If you get to know, a lot of people have tried to be president. My late father, Alhaji Aliyu Mahama, was the first Muslim vice president to have come from Dagbon, Yendi, who was the first to be vice president for 8 years and had the opportunity to contest to be a leader of the party, and he didn't have the opportunity. So today, if we have from our party, the New Patriotic Party, to produce a Northerner, it sends a lot of signal because it says that the party is not only an account party, it's a party that accepts all tribes, and giving the opportunity to such with a minority type from the north, it tells you that the MPP is poised to recognize all the efforts of all and sundry, both the Dombo, the Damko, and the Buzia tradition. The message of the people in the northern region is very, very clear, and it's the same thing that cuts across all the places, the vice president. He talks about his competence, not necessarily he coming from the north. He's competent, he's brought a lot of innovations to bear.
In a nation thirsting for record-breaking glory, recent attempts by some Ghanaians have been met with rejection by the Guinness World Records. Yet, defying all odds is one-year-old artist Ace Liam, who emerges triumphant, rewriting history as the youngest male artist in the world. My colleague Jacqueline Ansomayabwa has more in the following report.
The record for the youngest male artist remained unchallenged for 21 years after young American Dante Lamp made headlines at the tender age of 3. Fast forward, one-year-old Ghanaian artist Ace Liam took up the challenge to break this record in an event in Accra from January 18 to January 20th, 2024. 4 months of an anxious wait, Ace Liam's mother, Chantel Egan, proudly announced yesterday at a press conference the official confirmation from Guinness World Records.
It's been months of anxiety and prayers. On Monday, 13th May 2024, we have received an email from the Guinness World Record, and we are overjoyed to announce that Ace Liam, at just 1 year and 152 days old, has been officially confirmed by Guinness World Record as the current holder, as the youngest male artist in the world.
With seasoned individuals falling short in similar endeavors, what is the secret behind Ace Liam's remarkable adherence to the rules?
His wasn't a marathon, first of all. It was an age-based thing. So he's clearly younger than the 3-year-old, which puts everything aside. I sent his birth certificate as proof. And the next thing was, it's up to me. I need to gather enough evidence for them to be able to say, okay, it is true. And that was easy. I'm quite meticulous, so I gathered all the information. My team was there to help. Everybody, even you, Jackie, you also did your part with press. Because it was also, yes, it was also a requirement. So I even submitted the interview you did, talking about Guinness and the requirement. And I think all of it pushed it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, talking about requirements, I think most of those who took part in the Guinness World Record challenges had issues when it comes to sticking with rules. How did you do that? Because it was recently in April that we had one Ghanaian student hack trees where he actually set a record. We didn't even know he was doing it. It just came that he won. But then people in the past have been talking about the fact that when it comes to rules, I think the lipstick marathon, he also had issues with sticking to rules, Ifwa Santua, Shafila, and so on. But how did you do it? And what were some of the rules that were difficult to stick by?
I think we stuck to all the rules. Someone might think we are bragging, but I think we left no rule on 10. There are even some rules that are hidden in other rules. For example, they give you a generalized rule and a specific rule.
Like a 3-in-1 rule.
Yes.
3A, 3B, 3C.
So they'll tell you, look for a specialist witness who is so and so and so. Make sure you look for the person's business card. It's so long. So you have to go back. They have a 150-page guideline book. And most of the clues are hidden there. So you need to be able to read. Understanding the English that they've written is also part. So you can ask our PR. We printed everything out. 3 people were reading at the same time. And we're even cross-referencing English, how it was even written. For example, his first rule was, for clarity, the youngest, an artist is someone who is so and so, because usually people confuse artist with artist.
Yeah.
So they have said somebody who paints. So it's there. If he was singing, I wouldn't have gotten the record. Another thing was, they said the artwork should have been purchased and bought, but then it was bought and purchased. So do you sell the artwork before you exhibit it, or do you exhibit it before you sell it? And I was like, it's just a matter of English. At the end of the day, the artwork should be sold and it should be exhibited.
Chantel has hinted at the next chapter following this monumental achievement.
But until then, the next step is to have him do a solo exhibition. He's still 1 year and he'll turn 2 in July. So I'm making plans to organize his first solo exhibition for him, where he has the whole space to himself, his whole artwork.
Ace Liam has truly aced this milestone with finesse. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansma Yabua.
Big congratulations to you, Ace Liam. Ghana is proud of you. And that's it for AM News. Up next is News Review. And we'll be joined in studio by Kwame Jantwa. He's an energy expert. My name is Denisia Poma Eje.
And you're still watching the AM show this morning, and it's time now for us to get into the newspapers. I'm sandwiched between 2 fine gentlemen, Benjamin Akapo on my right, and Nana Kwame Jantwa, energy expert and member of the CPP, on my left. Welcome aboard, gentlemen, to the AM show.
Yeah, this is going to be a very tasty sandwich.
You want a bite?
Tasty.
You want a bite?
I think they are going to get a bite of us.
Yeah.
Like that. But anyway, let's do this. Let's clear it out of the way very quickly so that we can get into the newspapers. You know that this segment is always Monday to Friday brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And today, as always, they're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. That little organ in your body, your prostate, especially after 40, if you don't start checking it out, it could mess you up big time. I hear stories every day. There's also fertility for women screening for free at Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Do you know your fertility status? And even as a man, do you know your fertility status? That's why you should make tracks, make a beeline for Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And thankfully, they have branches dotted across the country. Let's start with here in Accra. They are at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Then in Kumasi, Chronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade and Naji Estate. There's Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hanswa and there's Siama in Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and we're joined by an old friend. Sometimes he will call me and give me an earful, and then we'll have lovely chats. Kwame, good to have you on the show.
Good to be here. The first time I'm on this show, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm sure the first time you are interacting with the very
I thought you were a familiar face for some reason.
Well,
he does come.
It's not the first time in this studio.
This setting.
All right, okay.
But anyway, I just wanted to do this. We'll give you a minute to reflect on something you're passionate about, a burning issue, before we get into the papers. We do that all the time. But I just had to ask you, because you love energy-related matters.
Really, do I?
Is Doomso over?
No.
Huh?
No.
Oh, but the president said it was.
I slept in darkness last night.
You slept in darkness?
Yes.
Okay, to be truthful, for about 3 days now, I have had constant light.
Yes.
My lights have not gone off. for about 3 days.
And to be truthful, my lights haven't gone off in the last 3 days, but I slept in darkness last night. And the first question that came to me was that, by the way, good morning to you. The first question that came to me was that, is the president hurting Dr. Baumia's campaign?
Is the president hurting Dr. Baumia's campaign?
Yes.
Do you think he is?
Is he being economical with the truth? Because he did tell us that Dumso is over. Didn't he?
He did.
The vice president.
May Day. On May Day.
The vice president also came to, add to that and said, right now we're sorting everything out and Dumso is over. So why are we still having challenges?
Technical issues, transformers. Those are the reasons they're citing, and not
it was a general
lack of funds to buy fuel.
It was a general statement. Dumso is over. It won't come back again.
Yeah.
We're still having it.
Well,
I think,
It was emphatic.
It was emphatic.
In fact, the very day he was saying that, some places had power outages. Following day saying.
There are certain things I keep saying we shouldn't play politics with. We shouldn't play politics with energy. We shouldn't play politics with agriculture. We shouldn't play politics with health. Look at the situation with the renal patients today. It's a huge, huge challenge. You hear people on radio, kidney patients on radio, saying they are preparing to die. I mean, how?
There are some things that hopefully are coming through, because I hear the NHIS is going to help some of them. At Kolebu, I hear there's a beneficiary, a benefactor, who has over time taken part of the cost. I think they pay about 1/4 of it or so, about 100 plus CDs for some of them. But how about Komfo-Anokye? How about other areas? And what are the measures in place?
Let me ask you. This is a challenge that has been there for quite some time. So you ask the question, what's the plan? Why would we allow people to die? There has to be a plan. For me, I think these machines should be everywhere in Ghana. Every hospital should have a machine. So that it stops people in the Ashanti region. People travel from the north to come to Komfo-Anokye for dialysis.
Yeah.
Why is that so?
Yeah.
Something that people are dying of. Well, because it's not you. And if it happened to somebody in high power, what will happen? They will fly out, wouldn't they? They'll have the opportunity to get medical help outside. What about the ordinary man who votes for you to get into power?
Yeah.
And that's the question. I would have thought.
And that's the very reason why we have healthcare financing issues, because the people in charge, the authorities, can leave and go and seek, find the help they need elsewhere.
Sweetie,
they don't have to find help here.
Sweetie,
they can afford to leave.
Sweetie, for me,
so that's the very
for
problem
me,
that we
what
have.
should happen
But
is
anyway.
a plan. There's the policy, isn't there? There's a policy to do with kidney transplant, with Ghana Health Authority, and I think the
Ghana Health Service.
Ghana Health Service, and there's another one, I've forgotten what it's called, where transplants are allowed in this country, where they would try and help. But isn't there a plan? It isn't something that started today. It started quite some time, and you see people dying. Can't you say, okay, this should stop. Let's put a plan together. And you don't politicize it. You get everybody around the table. Say, okay, this is the way we're going. So that a new government comes in and it's continued. Who's doing anything about it?
There's no continuum in government. But we have to get into other matters. So the renal patients, is that what you wanted to talk about? Your burning issue?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Right.
Let's get into the papers. Where are we starting from?
I know you say ladies first, and I would love to start first. Let's start with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, AG debunks Opuni Supreme Court's claims. Of course, he will. Road projects unmatched, according to Nana Akufo-Addo. Ambulance case. On the ambulance case, businessman denies charges. We'll get into that story as well. But let's start with President Akufo-Addo's claims that his government's road projects are unmatched. And the story is on page 3. It reads, President Nana Akufo-Addo has stated that the record of his government in road infrastructure and the transportation network of the country is unparalleled. According to him, no other government has done as much as his administration in terms of construction of roads, interchanges and bridges, as well as rehabilitation of road networks and railway lines. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on President Akufo-Addo's claims?
You don't want to
his
know my
road
thoughts.
projects? Every single time I've gone out, since I've been on the show, every time I've gone out to do Citizens Microphone or all of that, the very problem that comes out is roads, which is affecting the transport industry, the drivers themselves, which is why the cost of, maintenance, wear and tear product is the problem.
Do you remember when...
So what has he done?
A few times we've had... It doesn't please me, but it tickles me sometimes when... Do you remember when Dr. Baumia's convoy got stuck in? Do you remember those videos? Do you remember other times where government officials have been stalled because the roads are terrible? They are using V8s and they get stalled. No one can say that this administration has done nothing when it comes to roads. Those kinds of things are propaganda. But have they done what they say they have done? That's another issue altogether. But I'll pass the ball to Kwame Janto on this matter.
What do you want me to say? As you rightly said, with the amount of money that has come into this country with this administration, they could have done better. As you rightly said, nobody can say you haven't done X, you haven't done Y, but you could have done more with the finances you had. The cost of building roads today is very high. And I thought when they came in 2016, 2017, they indicated that they'll be using paving blocks, didn't they? Yeah. I thought that in so doing, they would bring out a policy where they would say every side road that you get in Ghana will be paving blocks.
Have you seen Rwanda's roads? And even the side ways for people who want to jog and all of that. Let's not even talk South Africa, Rwanda.
I said Pukwase here, part of Pukwase. Is it Pukwase? Yeah, the estate.
Yeah.
People who live in that area saw that their road was bad, so they contributed and bought paving blocks. Go and see the road. They've even done speed humps on the road. The added value with paving blocks is that, one, if anything goes wrong with the road, you just take one paving block up and replace it.
It's reusable, or you can fix new ones.
It creates employment.
Okay.
Look at the quantum of or number of paving block companies in Accra. If they were to put a policy like that in place, would it not help the cement factories? Would it not help those who do paving blocks?
Yeah.
And then you make sure that it's those people in the communities who are doing paving blocks who can now help in doing those roads. Yeah. So you're saying...
It can become a commercial, whatever, in communities, so that now, if we want the blocks in X community, who are those working on that in that community?
And don't even do the main roads, just the side roads. Yeah. A lot of side roads haven't been done. Yeah. A lot of side roads have potholes.
I was in Hacho. I was going to Hacho yesterday. There's this place under construction leading towards Academic City University.
Yes.
The roads are bad.
Yes.
Bad. Yes. A stretch, especially if you're using the other stretch, not the one that would take you back towards, I think, transitions and the rest.
Yes.
It's crazy. A stretch of maybe, 200, 300 meters, you have to go like a tortoise. Literally, else your car's shocks and everything gone.
And the added hazard is that we don't have street lights. So as you're driving at night,
you're vulnerable.
You don't know what pothole you're falling in. Added with a huge rainfall, a storm, forget it. Yeah. Then you have another added problem of going to Abusokai and buying second-hand parts, spare parts for your car.
Mami, don't even talk about those.
This is why the driver.
I think I've shared my plight with you. Don't start with spare parts.
So one thing adds on, and then you have the depreciation of the Cedi. So you don't have enough money to buy the parts. It adds on. And this is a situation that we should be able to sit and discuss it. Let's stop the politics. This thing the president said and added. What? The best in all since what? Yeah. Is it the Fourth Republic?
Or it's unmatched.
In the Fourth Republic or throughout Ghana or throughout our political life?
Right.
You should stop adding those things to it. Because sometimes you ask yourself, isn't he not being economical with the truth?
Anyway.
Let's do some more stories, and then I'll pass the ball to you, gentlemen. AG debanks Opuni Supreme Court's claims. So the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has responded to misleading reports in the media regarding the composition of a panel to hear an appeal in the Supreme Court on the case of the Republic versus Dr. Stephen Opuni and 2 others. According to the Attorney General, Godfred Yabuadame, and this story is the Daily Guide on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. According to the Attorney General, that is Godfred Yabuadame, there have been deliberate misrepresentations in various newspapers and on social media, particularly by Professor Kweku Asare, a known legal practitioner. And according to him, these misrepresentations suggest that the panel for the appeal hearing on May 8, 2024 was unusual or in violation of the Constitution. So he clarified that the arguments in the appeal by Dr. Stephen Opuni, former Cocoa Board CEO, were heard on May 8, 2024 and not on any previous date as claimed. This is the Attorney General debunking some of the claims. But I'll do one more story before I come to you for your reactions. GUTA laments Cedi depreciation. We're just talking about that. Traders in the country have voiced out their concerns about the fall in the value of the local currency and how it is dealing a blow to their businesses, particularly the Ghana Union Traders Association, expressing its sentiments in a statement, noted that the Cedi's depreciation was frustrating the business community, particularly its members. Now, the statement signed by GUTA President Joseph Obeng revealed that the ongoing economic challenges and also the ever-rising freight charges from Asia were making the cost of doing business high. There are some other stories, but let's just focus on these and then we'll move on to other papers. Kwame Janswa, first the Opuni case and then the depreciation of the
I haven't really followed the Opuni case. Okay. It's gone on for so long.
Just as the ambulance
that
case.
I lose track of where it is and what is being said. And what is it? He spent money?
Yeah.
He caused financial loss to the state?
Yeah.
Why has it gone on for years? It's the length of this government, isn't it? It started in 2017?
2020. Oh, okay.
Oh? When did it start?
Well, I started following 2020 or so I don't know how far back.
Even if it's 2020, that's 4 years. So what is it about the case that is making it difficult to conclude it? So I haven't been following it, but apparently it went to the Supreme Court, yes?
Yes.
And they threw out...
Right.
They threw out...
Well, it's just debunking allegations that people are saying the case was called sometimes before May 8th and it was only called. But, well, so about the depreciation of the Cedi, let me just do some more quick headlines and then we move on to the Ghanaian publisher. So Stanbic seeks accelerated digital banking. Geisha Soap celebrates mothers. COA assures price stabilization. Nana Ajiman accuses Ghana Music Awards of bribery. That's an interesting one. I will not tax the church, according to Baumia. He said it's a joke. What he said about taxing the churches is a joke. Yeah, that's your KGL boss, Lord Utumfo. But
which is a joke?
Dr. Baumia said that.
For you because we posted it. He says, I was joking. Vice President Baumia clarifies stance on incentivizing churches instead of taxing them. You know, he had said something about, oh, no, we shouldn't tax churches. We should rather incentivize them. And he now says...
But churches
now that the heat is coming, he says he was joking.
No, I'm just saying that he was saying, you know, there have been some calls that, tax churches and all that. But
they tax the businesses of churches, but not churches. If the church has a business.
I mean, if a church has a business,
yes.
If it's running a business, then that is, you know.
Yes.
Else would extend the tentacles of church to everything, and then there would be no...
But Benjamin, is a church not a business in today's world?
Some churches are businesses. I am proudly Catholic, and we don't do business in church. I don't know about... I don't know about...
I'll leave it there.
Let me not go there. Let me not throw any shades.
Okay.
Churches are business.
So the Ghanaian publisher, Dr. Ituahene, Siga back new NIBMD. It's Ghana's time to have female VIP, says Reverend Dr. Makwe. APD 2025 to focus on bridging Africa's infrastructural gap. ECOWAS Bank injects $200 million into Ghanaian economy. Okay, let me see what that story says and then I'll just end it there. EcoBank Bank to inject $200 million into Ghanaian economy. That story is on page 2. The ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development has strengthened its transformative partnership with Ghana by committing to inject $200 million into the Ghanaian economy. The facility is being offered by EBID to Ghana through strategic alliances with the Ghana Export-Import Bank and GCB Bank PLC. A statement signed by EBID and copied to the Ghana News Agency said this was contained in a memorandum of understanding signed by Dr. George Ejikun-Donkor, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors, that is of the EBID, and Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, Minister of Finance, at the ceremony held at the EBID headquarters in Lomé in Togo. That comes as good news. $200 million.
Yes, that's good news.
Well, what papers do you...
How it's used is another thing, but it's good news.
Yeah.
We have money coming in all the time,
yes.
but it's
So
where
why,
we put the money
yes,
and
so
how
why,
it's not reflected in the ordinary citizens' pockets. That's where my problems
The typical scenario, before you go quickly into your papers, the typical scenario is it's a basket, all right, but it's a basket full of holes. And you know what the holes are?
Yeah.
Corruption.
Yeah.
So the holes are there.
Yes.
When you pour water into a basket, you know what happens.
Yes. It drains out.
Very little is left, and there's a bit of moisture in the entirety of the thing, but what should have stayed in seeps through and ends up only God knows.
Would you agree with me that the amount of money that this government has had, it could have done quite a lot of things?
This administration, if you look at oil money, if you look at loans we've contracted, let's even stick to those two. Let's not talk about charity. Let's not talk about COVID-19 and the 21 billion Ghana cedis we got. Let's not talk about all of that. Just these two.
Yes.
Maybe we could have done 5 to 10 times better than where we are. And that is where some people get it wrong. I was interacting with a friend in the UK yesterday, and we had a conversation about free SHS. And I said, I could champion free SHS. Fantastic. And then, Nkrumah, were we not experiencing some of these? Yeah. Some of my grand uncles and the rest traveled to Germany, Russia, and the rest. On the back of that, yes. At Commonwealth Hall back then, you would eat well with drumsticks. I've heard all the stories I've been told about. Who wouldn't want that? But when you have it, and there are the sort of problems where now parents are buying bunk beds and they have to pay about 500 cedis, to their children every 2 weeks or so, and the food is then you ask yourself, did you go or did you come? So it's not a problem of the thing is bad. The implementation. So
it's a challenge.
And
the politicization of it makes it even difficult to talk about. And you have an opposition too that would want to play politics because they feel they have to come into power.
Yeah.
But I believe certain things, Ghanaians should get to a point where we can discuss things together. I was on a program yesterday on another station, and I asked the MPP person rep on there, I asked him, are you enemies to the NDC? Are both of you enemies? He said no. So I said, so why can't we sit and discuss some of the issues we are going through? And we always have to quarrel. Even on set, we would quarrel. MPP, NDC would quarrel. Quarrel for what? The problems are there. We need to solve the problems. We need solutions to the problems. And the people are caught in between. And it has to stop. The politicization of some of these issues has to stop.
Yeah.
Ain't helping anyone.
Yeah. Right. But let's get into your papers now.
Well, I saw a story here, which I think has been running.
Which paper
but
is that?
This is the...
Is that the publisher?
The
or the new Finder?
The Finder. Prices of books to increase by 40%.
I was going to get there too, but you go ahead.
The Ghana Publishers Association, GPA, has announced that book prices will increase by 40% effective June 1st, 2024. The association put the increase on the difficult business environment and the 27.5% value-added tax VAT levied on a list of materials imported into the country to support education, culture, and lifestyles. This is.
Book prices, from what we gather, are about to go up by 40% already currently, because I host a book show on this
40%,
network,
yes,
right?
40%.
The cost of good books. Yeah. The other day I was reviewing The Beekeeper of Aleppo, Christy Lefteri. You are looking at books that are costing north of 300 cedis, 400 cedis, 200 cedis. The least you are getting are works like The African Writers, The Joys of Motherhood, Buchi Emecheta, let's say 64, 65 cedis. Most of them are over 100 cedis. How many Ghanaians can afford that now? To talk of a 40% increment. Think about it.
First, we don't even want to buy books. And now you're making it even more difficult to encourage the reading culture. So where are we heading? The young people don't want to read. You know what? They'll just all migrate to their telephone, mobile devices, and then the
some
whole
of these
publishing
works,
industry
right,
will just be extinct.
You are not going to read a lot of Franz Kafka.
No, no, you
some
won't.
of these are classics. You will get them. Yes, you may get some of them. But the 1984s and the Animal Farms, the George Orwells and the rest, there's something about reading a book. So we are basically saying it's game, set, and match. I don't know.
I asked a group of young people when Meta, WhatsApp, when they brought their new AI app on there. So I was in a group of young people, and I asked, have you seen what Meta has done? They said, what have they done? I said, have you seen the new AI app on it? What's that? They didn't even know what it was. Because they wouldn't even go there.
People are talking about the new ChatGPT 4.0.
Yes.
4.0. And Google coming through with it.
I believe things like Meta on AI on WhatsApp helps you research. If you don't understand something, go on there. But unfortunately, I don't know why we don't have a culture of reading. When we were growing up, you would read a book every day. Your textbooks you will read, and when you come home, your parents would make sure you read. That's the only way you can improve your English.
Well, time will not allow us to keep going on and on about this. Benjamin, let's get into your paper.
Quick stories. You know, you just reminded me of my days in Bishop Herman. Some of my fondest memories were spent in the library.
Yes.
African writers.
Yes. Yeah. But do we have libraries now?
We have some, though. You have to give some credit to, I've forgotten his name. Is it Hayford Siao? The Ghana Library Authority. At least they've done a few things. Is it enough? I don't think so. Woefully inadequate. But there's that children's place in Roman Ridge, close to the Zenith Bank. Yes. That's a beautiful thing. Some of us spoke about
How long did it
even
take
before
to
I'd come
open it?
here. Yeah, it's been years, but we pushed and at least there's some. That is how you see, you can't have leaders. Leaders start by reading.
Yes.
A reader today is a leader tomorrow. Yes. That is how they learn what is going on. When you enter a book, you are transported into places you've never been to. Yes. If they don't start thinking like that, their thinking is stunted, right? Ab initio. And these will be the leaders of the future. What do you expect?
I'm not playing politics, but our first president, how many books did he write before he was overthrown?
Yeah.
Over 9-10 books. And that was the first thing they burnt.
Yeah.
When the 66.
His books are still alive today. I have soft copies. I have hard ones.
And when you read it, it tells you how countries should be ruled. And a lot of countries have learned from those books. Pennsylvania University, they run a course on Nkrumah because of his books. Yeah. How many of our leaders since then have written books?
Yeah.
How many?
But if they do, it's an autobiography or a biography at best. How many of them have been philosophical? What Nkrumah said in the 60s and even in the 50s, still very relevant
today. What Churchill said is
our
still
leaders
relevant today.
What they know is the talk shop. But let's get into the daily graphic very quickly. Seize fintech opportunities, digitalization, mobile money interoperability are launchpads. Dr. Bawumia rallies African nations. So Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has urged African countries to focus on digital identities and mobile money interoperability in order to realize maximum gains from the ongoing fintech, that is financial technology revolution on the continent. He said these were the two critical pillars that African countries had to leverage to unlock new opportunities and drive sustainable growth. Then there's, you've done the story on book publishers. So let me just do page 17. Election 2024, resolving NDC-EC trust issues. The national chairman of the NDC, Mr. Johnson Esiedun Ketia, during a press conference on May 9, raised concerns about the ongoing limited registration exercise and said the following. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not expect the EC of Ghana to act as the conduit through which Akufo-Addo will implement his avowed determination not to hand over power to the visionary, experienced and trustworthy John Dramani Mahama. NPP must choose peaceful transfer of power from NPP to NDC in their own interest. I'm not concerned about all the whatever before, the politics before. I'm interested in NPP must choose a peaceful transfer of power from NPP to NDC in their own interest. I see this to be a bit of a Should I call it a threat?
Yeah.
And what the president has been saying too, I will hand over to, I see that too to be a threat to our democracy from both sides. I mean, if you're saying in their own interest, they should, it sounds a bit, hey, you don't know what's coming. If you know what's good for you, we are slowly, or maybe quickly, getting on the cusp of, God forbid. Because the posturing of these parties, even in the limited voter registration exercise, leaves me very worried.
Do you think President Akufo-Addo, if it so happens that his party doesn't win, can say he won't hand over? Do you think that is possible?
Well, he's never said he will not.
Yes.
That he has never said.
What is he saying? That he will hand over to his, what? The person who stood for him. But if the person who stood for him
he said, I cannot hand over
to anyone.
To anyone except.
In fact, he says the former president, the one he ousted, will come and destroy all his legacy. And
How?
But what's interesting, he came in.
Did he destroy anybody's legacy?
Exactly.
We should stop this rhetoric. Because if you don't stop this rhetoric, what happens is that your members in the constituencies, in the communities, take it verbatim and do what they are not supposed to do.
The wording.
Yes, he should stop it. Look, he's getting to the end of his tenure. He has now become a statesman. He should act like a statesman. He should act to bring Ghanaians together and not put wedges in between us. It doesn't help any of us. But anyway, the good Otumfuo will make sure that it doesn't happen. Because I'm sure if Otumfuo
has intervened a number of times.
Yes, because he did say, just a few days ago, he did indicate that the parties are now out there campaigning, and he's hoping for peaceful elections. Look, there are certain things that are happening in this country that have never happened before in this administration.
Yeah.
Cocoa. What is happening to cocoa today? When you look at the galamsey and how it's affecting the cocoa crop, and the quantum of cocoa that we used to have, we're now down to about, 4 million tons? Is it 4 million?
400,000, getting to 500,000, we're not sure.
When we were heading for 1 million once upon a time?
We hit 1 million. We hit, at a point, 800,000 plus. At another point, we hit 1 million plus, right? Now Ivory Coast has about a chunk of about 43% of the market. We are at 13%. Look at the disparity. Projections from some institutions are that by 2025 we could hit 10%.
And by 2025, if we're not careful, we will not have a cocoa industry.
We're not even talking about the quality of cocoa that we're producing now.
Exactly.
It's not even about the production, because galamsey is messing up the cocoa. So you can even produce and not get a buyer.
Exactly. Yep. So at this present moment, what is the president doing about galamsey? He doesn't even talk about it anymore.
Oh, his presidency is still on the line.
Well, is it? Is it still on the line? What is creating the situation that it doesn't allow us to handle galamsey? Is it because politicians are in there? Is it because that's the way they are making money to fund their campaigns and things like that? It is something that, if he won't do anything at all, please help us solve galamsey. Because land is a place where everybody uses. You use land, you need land, I need land, he needs land. Everybody needs land. And if the land is being polluted, it's going to affect our foods. Did you hear the news item on vegetables grown within the Accra municipality, where they have found a lot of metals and viruses in lettuce and all these types of things because of the kind of water they're using to water these
Someone called me yesterday and he was telling me of going to this part of the Ashanti region. I don't want to mention. I want our people to actually go there. There's a mining pit, and right next to it, they're growing cabbage.
And now we hear, even on the borders of Ghana, they're doing galamsey. And it's
the northern belt.
Exactly.
From Burkina Faso.
Exactly. Terrorists would use that as a way of making money to finance their terrorist activities. Come on.
Senior, but we have to end somewhere. Elvis Delali Alowodo Lamte says, the academic university road there, it's been like that for years. It was graded when the vice president I went there. As for that stretch, Charlie, if you live in that catchment area, you have to use it every day. Your shocks, you go buy like 2,000. But let me, before we go, I don't want to forget today, else I'll be in hot waters. A blessed 50th birthday to Mrs. Barbara O'Day, Chief of Sales and Distribution, Advanced Ghana Savings and Loans. You're a virtuous woman and a great pillar in your generation. You're a great wife, mother, and friend. May absolute favor and grace from God envelop you as you embark on the next milestone. From your wonderful husband, Peter O'Day, the children, Baba and Darren, and friends within the Methodist Church Ghana. So happy 50th to you, Golden Jubilee, Mrs. Barbara O'Day. And from yesterday, I missed this one. Pastor sent it to me. Happy birthday. So belated happy birthday to my first fruit, Vera Ohima Shome Akrofi. On this day, I pray for divine blessings, favor, joy, peace, prosperity, long life, and good health upon your life from Lady Florence Akrofi and your humble servant, Kwabena Akrofi of Asempa FM. Both of them wishing you, Vera Ohima Shome Akrofi. Your birthday was yesterday. Belated happy birthday to you. We have to go.
One from Kojonyako. Let me do this. Also,
Richard
belated Kojonyako. Belated happy 40th birthday to Mrs. Eunice Nyanka of Kolobu Teaching Hospital. From your husband, Frederick Nyanka, and PRO, that's the PRO of Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and children, Irabna Papato and Nanakobina Yanka. They say happy birthday. They're wishing you the best as you climb the 4th floor today. Quote, we love and appreciate you so much. May you enjoy this year and many more ahead of you. We will always choose you over and over again. Happy birthday.
Kwame, we have to go now. But when you're talking about the cocoa, I remember that your father had been a former agric minister in this country.
Yes.
Was that under Nkrumah?
Yes.
Under Nkrumah.
Yes.
So I can get your passion.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, we'll have more conversations on that some other time.
Agriculture is one area, if we are to look at it, can do a lot for this country.
Yeah.
It can turn people into millionaires if we plan it well.
So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to pitch and hope you'll accept. Sometime soon we'll invite you into the studio and we'll have a broader conversation. We're actually having our Cocoa series this week and beyond. So we'll invite you one of these days and we'll not talk energy and we'll talk agric.
Yes.
Deal?
Yes.
All right.
My father left as a cocoa farm and I've taken it over, so I'm passionate about it.
Great. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the newspaper review. It's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. What are they offering you? Prostate screening if you're a man for free. Fertility screening if you're a woman for free as well. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Accra Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Bwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takra Dianaji State, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa and Siaman Zima. You can also reach them via phone on these two numbers, 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review, but guess what is coming your way? Sports, all the action, Manchester City, and all the other teams that have been playing coming your way. I have always said, Ebeko Arsenal there, and then got your City rivals, Manchester City, Emfa. What you say? This is not sacrilege. Ebeko Arsenal there, Man City, Emfa.
I'm an Arsenal fan. Sacrilege. Tottenham didn't help us yesterday. But anyway,
Welcome back on the AM show. We start off talking about books, the books you want to read. Well, the Ghana Publicists Association is talking about the fact that they are going to increase the prices of books by about 40%, and that is on the back of a plethora of factors. We're going to get cut incisively into this conversation to find out what exactly is happening, what is triggering this, and what this means as the association moves forward, planning that by June, you remember, by June, that increment will hit. Joining the conversation, we have Asare Konedu Yamua. He is President, Ghana Publishers Association. Mr. Yamua, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join the conversation. How did we get here to the point where there's going to be that gargantuan leap in the prices of books? 40%. What brought us here?
Thank you so much. Actually, books are more like any other commodity. When economic factors affect your business, of course, you need to adjust prices to remain in business. So it is in order from time to time to be able to raise your prices. But what has necessitated this has been the Value-Added Tax Act Amendment Act that was passed last year, which imposed a whopping 27.5% on books. We all know that VAT is a tax that you collect from.
So you said it imposed 27% on books, right?
27.5.
27.5%, right?
Yes. And we all know that VAT is collected for government. So we have no option but to pay the VAT and then we collect our money. So notwithstanding any other economic factors, be the cost of the dollar instability and the exchange rate, other factors, high printing cost, we have no option but to increase the price of books. And that's exactly what we have done. Excuse me.
Right.
So that is why you see that we have come out. And this time around, we acknowledge that from time to time, we surprise parents when they go to the bookshops that prices have been increased. But this time around, looking at the quantum of this thing that we're going to use to add to the price of books, we needed to inform them in advance. It is fair that you inform them between now and September. Those who do not have the money will look for money, and when they go to the bookshops and the prices have been increased, they can then procure the essential books that the pupils and their children will need. So the press conference, in part, was to give an indication of where the price of books will be come September. But we are starting in June because bookshops will start ordering their books in June. And therefore, publishers will begin to effect the new prices to the bookshops in June. But come September, when parents go to the bookshops, they will find that the prices have been increased. And the factors, as I said, is all about economic, VAT policy, VAT tax, and of course, exchange rate instability.
Mr. Yamwa, so are you telling me that if you don't increase 40%, you're going to go out of business? I mean, consider the economic situation, and I know you are facing the economic situation as well, the materials you use and all that. But are you saying that anything below 40% would mean that you would be going out of business? What's the reality on the ground?
You see, you have decided to use the extreme, the 40%.
Right.
We gave you range. We said between 30 and 40%.
Okay.
And brother, on a simple mathematical calculation, if I am adding 27.5% to my price, where does that leave me? It goes nearly to 30%.
Right.
And then looking at the instability, the dollar exchange rate, the cost of printing. So I think that if we are diverting our minds to the calculations that we are doing, you realize that we are not out of place. But as I said, we give a range between 30 and 40%. And that is what you should expect. Because assuming we are not even going to increase price based upon the cost of production, and we are just collecting the 27.5% for government, where do we stand? It is 27.5 between 27 and 30%. My brother, the difference is 2.5%.
In other words, you can't go below 30%.
Yes. Yes.
Mm. What is it though? What is your beef with NACA, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment? What is the pain you have with NACA? In recent times, there have been conversations in respect of working with that organization. Break it down for me. What are the problems you have with NACA?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, this issue, NACA succeeded a department that was called CRDD. That's the Curriculum Research Development Division of the Ministry of Education. Later, it was upgraded, and under the new Education Act of 2020, NACA was established. Now, what has happened is that since 2018, when they decided to change the curriculum of this country, we've had issues. especially in 2018, when NACA has not even completed the curriculum and the syllabuses. They came out and instructed all schools not to accept the old textbooks because they are changing the curriculum. And you all hear, the news were out there that we lost close to 300 million cedis because the books were declared useless, even though they were not useless as such. It took NACA 2 years before we could get the new textbooks into the classrooms. All that, we cooperated, we worked with them. You see, the standard curriculum, the standard curriculum that was introduced, that is for the primary, the KG to primary 6. We worked and we submitted our works for assessment and approval, based upon which the ministry 2.5 years ago procured some books and the open market we are selling for the basic schools that are under the government. Now, the second phase was to develop the books for the junior high schools, which is called the Common Core Program. When we were ready to submit our works to NACA, NACA informed the publishers that they are having challenges with assessment, and therefore they are suspending assessment. Please note, they are suspending assessment until further notice. So publishers who even submitted their works to NACA prior to this announcement are still waiting for the assessment report. When you submit, they tell you that they are not working now, so please hold on. Now, sometime this year, we intercepted a letter emanating from the Director General's office to all private schools, declaring that a new textbook for the Common Core Program, which is the junior high schools, is ready, printed by appointed time printers, and that he was ordering the private schools to send their orders to his office. Now,
send their orders to whose office?
To the Director General's office.
To whom?
NACA's Director General. He was asking the private schools to send their orders of the textbooks that have been printed by appointed time to his office.
How did you come by this information?
No, we intercepted the letter that was sent to the private schools. It was a circular sent to the private schools.
I see.
And based upon that, we wrote to NACA that this is unconstitutional, and we demand that the letter be withdrawn forthwith. We got a letter indeed from NACA that the letter has been withdrawn. On the 29th of January, my brother, we had a meeting and we invited the Director General of NACA to that meeting. And we specifically asked whether any book has been approved for the Common Core Program. We have the minutes there, we have the video, because there was a Zoom that was added to it. He categorically stated that there was only one social studies book that has been submitted, and that no book has been approved. Now, just a few months, you have a letter going through the schools indicating that some books are ready for sale, and that NACA, an independent regulator, is the one that is heading or superintending over this marketing and sales. How do you reconcile this? Why would NACA tell us that they are suspending assessment while some books were being assessed and approved and then proceeded to go to the schools with NACA's letterhead asking them to buy the books?
How many books are we looking at? These books that have been approved on the blind side of your association. About how many books are we looking at?
There are various subjects. Please, I can't give you the total subjects now, but the subjects that are being studied in the junior high schools, all the subjects, they have done the books. And the ministry, you see, the dangerous aspect here is that the Ministry of Education has gone ahead to procure these books.
They procured them already?
They procured them and they are in the warehouses of the Ghana Education Service, which means that in September, before September, these books are going to the schools for the children to use. Now, what would be the motivation for NACA, for instance, to tell us that we should suspend assessment and then go behind us assessing books, a particular publisher's book, and then motivating private schools to buy, and then instigating or help supporting the Ministry of Education to procure those books.
Right. So you have grave concerns. You have said two things, that NACA should stick to curriculum assessment and not get involved in this. But I'm supposing you also feel very pained because you have even gone ahead when you were asked to publish some of these books in the past. You published on 100% credit, right? To the Ghana Education Service, to the ministry as well. Have you received payment for those?
No, as I said, the total is about 320 million. And
you've not received payment for any part of it?
No, the only payment that we received is roughly about 40 million cedis from Get Fund.
So what's the outstanding figure, the 300 million you're mentioning?
Yeah, you are looking close to about 280 million cedis. And we've been writing series of letters to the minister, having series of meetings, all in an attempt for this money to be paid, because it's becoming a nuisance. 2.5 years, my brother. Why do you...
Some of you contracted loans to do this. What has been the impact of that on you, on your work?
It's tremendous. In fact, the printers, because these books were printed locally, and we had a special arrangement with the printers, for the printers to print also on credit for us. When the ministry pays, we pay the printers. So the printers have gone in for loans to import paper. So the effect is not on us alone. The publishers are suffering, the printers are suffering. In fact, the distributors, those book distributors we contracted to distribute the books to the regions, have not been paid. If you pay 40 million, and for assuming that we will mirror the same percentage, which is about 19.8% to the printer, it means that the printer has received 19.8%.
Right.
So why should we be unnecessarily be subjected to this agony when 2.5 years we were considered to print the books free or without?
So let me ask you, Mr. Yamwa, on the back of all of these, the backlog of payment, now you're going to hike your prices. So June, at the start of June, you will hike your prices, just to confirm. You're not going to negotiate on it. You will hike your prices, right?
No, you see, the conditions precedent, as I told you, would not allow us to negotiate on anything with anyone.
Right. No, I just want a clarity on that. You can't negotiate. You are going to hike your prices. But what then is the way forward? What could possibly happen to mitigate the translation of the 30% onto, the cost of books? What could happen to reduce that?
What could happen is that we have to be reimbursed of the VAT money that we pay. If government decides that the VAT has been reversed, of course, we cannot take away that money that belongs to the booksellers or the parents. But until such condition, my brother, I told you, VAT is a tax collected on behalf of government, and there's nothing we can do about it.
All right.
So we are saying that the Ministry of Finance, Government Education, Ministry of Culture, who are all in charge of books, we need to have an engagement and look at how best we can mitigate against these price increases that affects parents. You see, formally, everybody thinks that books should be free because of the government's intervention over the years in supplying these books. But they are not free. We bear some cost in printing these books out.
All right.
So I think that we need to engage. Government will have to engage with private sector, especially the book industry, and consult widely for us to see how best we can bring about some improvements into the system and make the book industry very competitive.
Okay.
The printers have the ability to be the printing hub. Ghana has an ability to be the printing hub of West Africa.
All right.
Mr.
Yamwa, we have to go now. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, and we hope the right things happen so that this increment doesn't come to pass. That is Asare Konedu Yamwa, president of the Ghana Publishers Association. Now, stay with us because up next on the AM show, we're also talking about renal services, dialysis services at our national hospitals and everything else happening in between. What is the current state? We have joining the conversation some patients with kidney-related issues. We have the pharmaceutical industry joining the conversation. We have a nephrologist joining the conversation, just so we can situate it and know what exactly is happening and what the way forward is. But before we go on a break, the fourth industrial revolution is here. But what does this mean for Ghana and Africa? Join global and local leaders to address the impact of technology at the first ever Industry Engagement Forum 2024 by Industry Immersion Africa, in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation Ghana and the Ministry of Education through the National Service Scheme. Be a part of this groundbreaking, immersive experience. Now, this two-day event will serve as a pivotal platform fostering dialogue and collaboration in a bid to bridge the industry-academia gap, empower STEM graduates across Africa, and combat youth unemployment. The theme, industry driving AI and 4IR in Africa, that is the fourth industrial revolution in Africa, collaborative pathways for digital transformation in Ghana. The date, Wednesday the 22nd of May and Thursday the 23rd of May 2024. The time is 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. each day, and the venue is the UPSA Auditorium here in Accra. You can visit www.iiafrica.org for more information and also to register. Media partners for this event, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News, and myjoyonline.com. Well, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Last year, 15-year-old Priscilla Sante's young life was cut short. Her dream of becoming a nurse unfulfilled, leaving a void in the hearts of many. Her mother's voice joined the choruses across the country in calling on government to reduce the cost of dialysis in order for many to live. Priscilla was not the last to die. Many have died, and countless numbers are in the queue waiting to die because they can't afford to pay the cost of dialysis. 33-year-old Salas Mensah teary after hearing the announcement of the increase.
$490 for a day, so in that week, when it comes to it, costs you about 1,000.
He briskly calculates the amount of money he would now have to pay in order to live.
As for me, I don't have anybody. A guy saw me in Kumasi and then he told me to help me. If the price go high like this, I'm crying for the guy now. So that is now my greatest fear.
I was working at GES. I came, a year I came retirement, and I came then this thing started. That's been a very hard because of the money aspect of it. And right now too, it has been increased. So it is not easy.
Gabriel Mensah retired from the GES last year. Shortly after his retirement, he was diagnosed of the diseases. The weight of this announcement is evident in his voice.
The payment aspect is serious. Serious. We are going to die. We are going to die.
Patients here are angered by this announcement. Their anger is sandwiched with the never-ending plea to government to reconsider its decision. For 37-year-old Jackson, government can't simply send them to their early grave. Something urgent must be done.
Even the people were dying because of the previous cost. They were not able to afford the costs involved. I don't understand the government. I don't understand. Adding medication, lab costs, and dialysis fee, very difficult. So sometimes you think that, oh, Charlie, if you die, cry, it will be okay, so that your burden on the family and the friends will be over, and they use the money to do other things.
For these cocktail of stories told differently by different patients at the dialysis unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital revealed despair, disappointment, anger, and betrayal by government.
It's kind of getting us more devastated.
For Thomas Vincent Khan, this is his 11th year being on the dialysis machine. He is surprised the loud voices that were raised by patients and other advocates could not get government to reduce the cost of dialysis.
Because already with the 350, we always struggle to even come to the hospital for dialysis. So for such an announcement, especially at the time that we've made a lot of noise asking for a reduction, even on the 350 that was being charged, and then we wake up and the next thing we are hearing is that rather the prices are going to go up. It has never been easy. I have been on dialysis for 11 years, and throughout the 11 years it has never been an easy road.
For each second that the dialysis machine here beeps, death keeps its eagle eyes on the patients, ready to snuff out the life in them.
It got to a time somebody came and told us that she wants the line to be removed because she knows she cannot afford the daily session. That was around 350 cedis per session. And then she told us we should remove the line so that she will just go and die because she cannot continue the session again. In fact, we did everything. We tried to source funds for him, but there's nothing we could do because the mind was made that she was fed up. Looking at she had children in the house, and every week she keeps coming here pumping money, and then it seems there's no hope for her, so she decided to end it.
Head nurse at the dialysis unit here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Eunice DeGraft Ishent, says being on dialysis is like a death sentence and a lot of support is needed to help the management of the diseases.
Then sometimes, most of them, they come in the acute phase. So even getting the access, the temporal catheters, and then starting their first 2 or 3 sessions is a problem. So in these instances, management will come in so that we will start the dialysis as the relatives also go and look for funds to come and support.
Here at the dialysis units of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, many machines have broken down, compounding the problems of the patients. The patients now have to queue as early as 1 a.m.
2/3 of our machines have broken down, and then coupled with the stresses, they're already not feeling well, and they have to come here as early as 1 a.m.
Unfortunately, apart from the cost that is even, giving us problems. You come in here and there are not enough machines because every day they are diagnosing new patients so it means that the numbers keeps adding on. And unfortunately, when you come here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, we're only left with just 4.5 machines.
Why do you say half?
I say half because there's one machine that somebody has to sit by it, and then every 30 seconds the person has to be present because it's not fully functioning.
Public Relations Officer of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Fred Yanka, says the hospital will continue to support the patients as they go through these emotional journeys.
There has been a strict instruction that you don't send a patient out because he or she is owing. So even though some of these our patients are owing, anytime they come, we still take care of them, and we are still going to take care of them till something come in for them to get some funds to take care of their bills.
For every tear that drops, for each heart that bleeds, for every hope that's dashed, and for each penny that these patients, their families, and other benefactors spend in their attempt to keep these patients alive, they call on government to support them to live a little while longer by reducing the cost of dialysis.
We still live in a dialysis crisis, and which one of us would want to be in such a situation. It's so pathetic. So pathetic. It's heartbreaking. But we start the conversation. Let me just acknowledge the presence of, joining the conversation, Dr. Elliot Granting Tano. He is senior lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's a senior specialist and consulting nephrologist at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. Dr. Tano, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, and how are you doing?
Well, I could be better, and especially with some of these stories, you just get emotionally charged because these are brothers and sisters, you know, and it could happen to any one of us. But please give me just some 30 seconds. Let me also introduce those who are joining me in the studio, and I'll come right back to you. We have two brothers here who themselves are suffering some kidney-related diseases. Desmond Enoch Bracco is here. We also have Kweku Kwate. Brothers, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And thanks for joining the conversation. I'll be coming to you shortly to share your stories with us. But let me go back to Dr. Tano. I'd just like you to break it down for us, educate us. Kidney disease and the rise in all of these diseases. What exactly should we know? What are the diseases that can affect the kidney, and why is there the spike that we are seeing nowadays?
All right, thank you very much, Ben. And good morning to your viewers and listeners. It is very important that we realize now that what is killing us nowadays are not the infections anymore. Gone are the days where we used to worry so much about infections, TB, HIV, and so malaria, and so on and so forth. But in this dispensation, now the so-called non-communicable diseases are the major killers. Now, what is driving this canker of chronic kidney disease? The major drivers are diabetes and hypertension. Now, unfortunately, these non-communicable diseases are also on the rise. So in Ghana, for instance, you take people above 18 years, about 1 out of 4. In fact, in a study that we did even in Ashanti region, it was 1 out of 3 people that you see above 18 have hypertension. That is worrying. And the chunk of these people with hypertension might end up developing kidney disease. Now it's hypertension month, so probably I'll delve a bit more into it, that if you are here or you are listening or you are watching and you've not checked your blood pressure this month, please do so, because it's actually one of the ways we are easily able to pick whether you have kidney disease and be able to at least pick it early enough so we don't run ourselves into trouble. So that is one. 2, diabetes. Again, diabetes is very common and it's rising. When we're in medical school or before then, they used to say, oh, these diabetes, hypertension are, diseases of the white people and disease of the rich. It is not true anymore. The rich are getting it, the poor are getting it. Virtually people, everybody is getting it. The young, the old are getting these diseases. And when these diseases are not managed well, and that is also another problem. Sometimes people don't check to know that they have it. When they have it, they don't even check to ensure that it's well controlled, and they run into trouble in terms of developing some of these complications, including kidney disease later in life. I'm sure some of your panelists in the studio will let you know that I'm sure they have hypertension. And that was the first thing that they picked that probably made them check the kidneys and all. So let's not underestimate hypertension. Let's not underestimate diabetes. Putting these two major ones aside, there are also, in our part of the world, what we call the chronic glomerulonephritis. It's a huge word, don't worry about it. But what it means is that the filtering apparatus of the kidney tends to run down. And what are some of the things that will cause it to run down with time? Diabetes, hypertension are one, but there are some other things we don't know. Sometimes they come in so late, you cannot even investigate. We believe that some people might have genetic predisposition that might cause them to develop the condition, and others by virtue of habits, and that's where we can delve a bit more into habits. What are some of these habits? People are not drinking enough water. People are taking all sorts of toxic medications into their system. Now, what is clear is that any food, water that you drink, after the nutrients have been picked out, whatever trash that is left of what is in the food has to come out of two places. Either you poo it out or you pee it out. Now, the point is that if it is going through your urine, depending on the toxic nature of the things you have taken, it can affect your kidney function. And this can happen gradually over a period of time. So depending on the toxins you are taking, then chances are that in 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, or some of, the people you interviewed mentioned that at their retirement, so it all depends. And that is why we need to be careful about things we take in, especially medications, even from orthodox medications that we write even in the hospitals. And again, mostly the herbal medications that we are not clear on in terms of what people are taking into their systems. All right. So we need to be careful. Smoking, alcohol. Now there are all sort of alcoholic beverages on our markets, and sometimes you don't know what it's in these alcoholic beverages, and our young people are taking them left, right, front, center. Let's be careful. Now, somebody might say, okay, I don't do all of these things, but I still ended up developing it. And that is why it is important that with time, once a while, as we grow, our kidneys are helping with all of its function over years. As we grow, the function tends to deteriorate. And for you to be able to know that it's deteriorating, and for the doctor to let you know that, listen, it might be A, B, or C that is in your blood that is causing it to deteriorate, to probably slow it down, then you will not know. And normally, anytime I speak, what I say is that the kidney functions goes down like our mobile phones go down in terms of the battery. Right. So typically, when you start off in the morning, it is actually probably about 100% when it's fully charged. As you are speaking, it is dropping. And that's how our kidney functions drop until it gets to a point where it cannot hold you anymore. And then that will be low battery for your phone. But for the kidney now, you are not able to eat, you are not able to drink, and you are feeling very sick. And people might think it's malaria. It's unfortunately not malaria. It might end up being kidney disease. So this is my opener. And depending on the questions, we can take it up from there. Thanks.
And we shall. Let me acknowledge, joining the conversation as well, pharmacist Ronald Aintree. He is Assistant General Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. Pharmacist Ronald Aintree, a very good morning to you, sir. Do we have Mr. Aintree on the line? Please unmute for me, sir. Mr. Aintree, please unmute.
Good morning, Ben. Sorry.
Great.
And good morning to your listeners as well.
Right. Please just give me a minute. I have a brief follow-up for Doug, because when I come to you, I may lose track and not go back. So one thing I do every morning is to drink at least 500 milliliters of water, at least consciously, because of some of these. Who knows? Some will also say if you put too much water in your system, it could affect you. But I just wanted you to clarify those habits you were talking of: food, drink, lack of exercise, other habits. What are you looking at? The other day in Osu, I found something very interesting. I was somewhere driving by, and this gentleman came with what I suspect is an aphrodisiac. I've never touched any of those in my life, but I know that a lot of people, you don't even know what the contents are, and they are buying these things and consuming them. I just want you to look at those habits briefly and summarize on them before I go to the pharmacist and then come into the studio. Doc.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And indeed, I like your habit of trying to drink some water every morning. That is very helpful. I mean, very, very helpful. And the advice for that habit is that if you end up taking a lot of water, you actually decrease the stress on your kidney. So then you are able to ensure that it lasts a lifetime. All right. So that is very important. Good habit, continue it. And those who have not started it, please do make sure you are drinking enough water. More especially now that the weather is super hot, we probably need to take in a lot of water. Now, 2, food. Now, the important thing is that in terms of food, let's try and make sure at first, typically, the average Ghanaian food is, kabu kabu. What did you eat this morning? Is yam or banku or cocoa and all of that. It's all the kabu we are talking about. Ideally, the food should be more vegetable, fruit laden. The carbohydrate probably should be about a quarter of your plate, and then the the protein and all probably will take a quarter. So you, in terms of what you eat, try and make sure there are more vegetables and fruit. Now, the content of the food, salt is always a problem. Ghanaians like so much salt. A lot of salt has been associated clearly with hypertension. So let's cut down our salt. Let's not wait to get hypertension first before we cut down our salt. And that is actually also very important. You mentioned the exercise, which I think is very important. Now, you might be too busy, not have time to exercise and all, but use your daily activities as an exercise. You need to speak to somebody in the next office or the next block. Why don't you just take a walk to the place instead of, picking up a phone and call? Why don't you use the stairs instead of using a lift? I mean, basic things I advise my patients to be able to exercise, because Charlie, time no day. So we probably have to look for all the other means to ensure that at least we are moving and not sitting for so long. The aphrodisiacs, young men, I mean, all sort of, and like you are saying, and that's my worrying bit. People don't even know what they are taking, and they are just taking it because it has some potent something that they will give to you. And what I say is that as a young man, you keep taking those aphrodisiacs, go sleep with those 10, 20 women. Now, when your kidney functions run down, they will leave you and go to somebody who probably has, well-functioning kidneys, okay? And probably you'll be dead and gone. So please don't be in an aim, or don't aim to satisfy so many women for whatever you want to get out of it and lose your life in the short run. Be careful what you take in, because what you take in can affect your kidney. Now the next thing is that let's have the habit of regularly checking ourselves. Check your blood pressure, check your sugar, check your kidney function, check it. Don't just say, okay, me, I don't get sick, and so I'm waiting to get sick. But the waiting to get sick might be in 15% of your kidney function or 10% of your kidney function. So these are the habits. Smoking, now, unfortunately, now shisha or so has become a fashionable thing that is even attracting the women. Let's be careful. Smoking is smoking. In as much as you are getting smoke into your system, it probably has, a cigar in it, or probably has nicotine in it, and all. Right. They destroy your kidney. They destroy your vessels. They destroy your heart. Let's stop all of these things. These are habits probably that people should be refraining from. Thank you.
Doc, hold for me. Let me also acknowledge, joining the conversation, Kwabena Mintah Akandoh. He is ranking member of the Health Committee of Parliament. Mr. Akandoh, good morning. Hello, Mr. Kwabena Mintah Akandoh, can you hear me? Please unmute for me.
Can you hear me
unmute.
now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I hope you're well.
By God's grace, I'm fine.
All right, please hold for me. Mr. Entry, so Pharmacist Entry, I'd like to find out from you, from your standpoint, in terms of treating kidney disease. It's not just the dialysis. There are other medications and others that they have to use. But we also find out that the cost of that is ticking upwards. What is the reality for you who import such medication into the country or produce it? Mr. Entry, can you hear me now?
No, please, Ben. My connection went off.
I'm asking, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. I was just asking, you are in the business of pharmaceuticals. You bring in medication, you produce some of the medication. Specifically for kidney disease, what are some of the most frequently used medications that you have in stock, and how has that been impacted by the economic situation?
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. So particularly for kidney disease, in fact, as Doctor rightly said, considering just kidney disease as in totality, there are other comorbidities that come with it, like hypertension and diabetes and so on and so forth. So just separating kidney disease, you may have to bring in things like the erythropoietin, the epoetin, and then some other, even in some cases, there might even be some infection during the dialysis process that may occur, and then you would have to throw in some antibiotics. Then too, we have some class of medications we call the SGLT2 inhibitors, the Forxiga and so on, which is used, which helps in the situation. Currently, as it stands now, I must say most of these medications are very expensive. We should be frank. I want men's words on that. They are expensive.
About how expensive? Averagely and maybe to the highest of cost. About how expensive?
Some can go as high as 300 cedis per pack, or 250, 300, 400. It can range that high, actually. And as it stands now, it is quite a burden on us as importers. You know, we were recently pushing for VAT removal on some medications. And we believe that if we want to help these kidney patients, we can just bring out these medications or just fence these medications and maybe push for a total removal of duty cost on these medications. Because with the duty costs and the VAT and all that, we are importing at almost about 40 to 50% of the cost of some of these medications.
Right.
And we believe that if we would want to help them...
Did you just say you were importing at 40 to 50% of the cost?
Come again, please.
Did you just say you are importing at 40 to 50% of the cost?
Exactly, in duty costs, at clearance. So that is what we are asking, that if there could even be a reduction, first of all, the VAT removal. You know, we initially pushed for some medications to have this, to enjoy some of these VAT exemptions, which is captured in the LI 2255. But then we are still asking that more medications, more prescription medication be pushed on there, so that if the total duty cannot even be reduced, the VAT component at least can be taken off for some of these patients to also have some breathing space or some cause the reduction in the cost of treatment.
Okay, so Mr. Entry, you've painted quite a picture for us. I just want you to state this briefly. In other words, it means that because of the cost, you can't do anything about what you translate to the consumer who buys it. Your hands are tied, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Our hands are very tied.
All right. Hold for me. Mr. Akandoh, just hold for me. I also want us to hear the conversations from the studio. I'll come to you shortly, Mr. Akandoh. But let me come to Kweku Kwarteng and Desmond Enoch Bracco. Desmond, how long have you suffered from kidney disease? When did you find out you had kidney disease?
That's the year of 2015.
2015. How did you find out?
I saw it in my eyes.
Your eyes?
Yes.
What was going on?
It was like when someone is coming from far place and the person wearing like yellow top, I see it's like...
Can you speak up a little bit for me?
I see it's like white dress, but if it comes closer to me, I see it's yellow.
So you started having color, figuring out color issues, and then you realized that there was something going on. And where did you go?
And I sent it to hospital at our area, Cedi government hospital.
Okay.
And they said they can't find anything in my eyes. So I sent it to Kofodia. They gave me a letter to go and see Kofodia. I sent it to them, and they informed me and told me I have a kidney failure.
You had kidney disease?
Yeah.
When they told you that, how did you feel? Did you know this was what it meant?
Well, actually, no, I don't know nothing about it, about kidney. But the moment I heard, I think it's a very sickness. It can kill you this moment.
So you've been in this for 9 years?
Yes.
9 years. Let me quickly take Kweku Kwarteng as well. How long has it been? How did you discover that you had kidney disease?
Okay, actually, I went to clinic.
Okay.
So immediately I read there. The nurses have to check your blood pressure before they start any treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So they took my vitals. So they saw it that my BP was very high. Then the nurse told me that I should go and sit down for 30 minutes and come back. So, okay. So,
because they wanted to be sure that it wasn't maybe coming in a hurry or something that had caused that.
Yeah. So in the next 30 minutes, I went there again, then they checked, it was still high. So they continued the process. At the time I realized it was 6 p.m.
Wow.
So the nurses called me to the senior doctor office, and then the doctor told me the condition of my blood pressure, they can't allow me to go home. So they want to admit me. At that time, I wasn't sick. I'm okay. I was an apprentice. I was learning how to do house wiring and then electricals.
So for you, you felt you could perform your normal functions, so everything was okay.
Everything was working.
Things were not okay.
Yes.
And from there, what did it mean? Did they admit you?
Yes.
Okay.
So they told me I should put everything aside. They even told me I should put my phone aside. They monitor my BP for 2 days. Still, it was high.
Wow.
So they took that sample of me because the doctor told us they have to check my kidney function because of the high blood pressure.
Right.
So they went to do some tests, and time my creatinine was, I think, 480. Urea 2 was a little high, I think 8. So
is that your BP you are talking about?
No.
That's because that's...
The BP was 197, 110,
Wow.
was very high.
You were hitting almost 200.
Yeah.
The diastolic and the systemic.
Yeah.
Right.
So they took the blood sample for kidney function test. And then the results, the creatinine was, I think, 480. And then the urea 2 was, I think, 8. So the doctor advised us to come and see a specialist at Korle Bu. That brought me to Accra.
Okay. And since that time, how many years has it been?
So I started 2016.
2016. So that's about 8 years.
Yes, yeah.
9 years, 8 years. What has this meant practically on a daily level? Medication, dialysis, cost, your life. Were you able to complete learning the wiring?
I stopped that one, but I forced to do my HND, then do the top up. So now I'm an electrical engineer.
Okay. We thank God for that. But what has this meant to you in practical terms? I'll come to Desmond on that as well.
Practical terms, that take a lot from me. You are joy. At times you may think there's no hope. Because when you see your colleagues, how people are suffering, at times you can't breathe, this one is the end. Times you may be on the machine with your colleagues and then they are dying, you see them.
You see people die?
Yeah, he lie beside you and then he's dying, you see.
That is those on dialysis?
Yes.
Sometimes it's going to be happening.
How does that make you feel?
It's not easy. But now it has become normal because we have seen a lot. So, but at the beginning, we were struggling.
Desmond, how have you been able to cope with the cost? Are you working?
I'm not working. I'm with my brother. My brother working, so I'm in his store.
Okay. Is it that you can't work because of the condition?
Yeah.
You can't work?
No, I can't. I mean, if you get a job, you want to do it. If the person here, you have a kidney failure, you think you can't do it.
So even when there's work you can do, once they hear you have kidney issues,
yes,
they stereotype you. They say you can't do the work.
Yes.
Have you experienced that too?
Yeah. I was part of those who were building urology and nephrology center at Korle Bu.
Right.
So the time they closed the dialysis unit, I was supposed to spend 2 days out of my week. I was a safety officer on the engineering board. But I have to use 2 days to go and search for machine outside. By the time I was doing it at Korle Bu, the unit is just close to my work. So I'll go and work 4 o'clock and then I'll come and do the dialysis and go home. But because they close it, I have to go to either Accra Medical, La Paz, or just moving and searching where there's. So I was working with white people, Portuguese, and then white people will not give you 2 days out of your week and expect to pay you. So because of that, they laid me off immediately we finished the project. So now I'm not working at all.
Desmond, cost. You are not working.
Yes.
Your brother is supporting you. You were telling me earlier, your mother is sick.
They are not supporting me anymore. If I don't work, they will not give me money. They use me to feed me just like that. I'm not getting money for the treatment.
So you still have to find money?
Yes.
To feed yourself?
When I go home, I went to my colleagues so that I'll get something for it, so that I'll come for dialysis. I'm not getting anybody to support.
No one to support you? And your mother is also sick?
Yeah. She's in the house right now.
And now we've been told about, right before I go to Akandoh, we've been told about the fact that dialysis treatment has moved from 380 cedis to 491.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you heard that, how did you make you feel?
The last time we went there, that was, I think it was Monday. He was there, and he was trying to do the dialysis, but they said the amount is not making from 380 to. We didn't hear.
So you were taken by surprise.
Yeah.
Where did you go, Kolebu?
Yeah. We went there, and it was 380 last week. So I picked 380 for the. Yeah. I went there. They said 490. How can I afford it? It left only my transportation. I'm from Cedi.
You come from Cedi?
Cedi, always. From 9 years, I'm from Cedi, coming to dialysis all the time.
Hey. Where do you come from to Kolebu? Latebiokoshi. At least you are closer. Gentlemen, hold for me. Akandoh, this is the situation. Desmond comes from Cedi every week. How many times do you come in a week?
I'm supposed to be here for twice, but the money, so I take only 1 week.
At least twice you should be coming. But because there's no money, you come once, you ration it.
Yes.
Akandoh, you are ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament. I'm sure you're fully aware of the situation. I also know in the past there have been conversations about dialysis and how maybe the National Health Insurance Scheme could absorb the cost of it. We've heard that there's a benefactor at Kolebu, but not at other places. I mean, how much do you know, and has Parliament approved this 491 cedis that they are supposed to pay currently?
Can you hear me, please? Is my voice clear?
It is very clear. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I have been very, very sad for the past 3 days. And if you could recall, we had this conversation for not less than 3 or 4 times on your show. And anytime this conversation comes up all over the country, all media houses call me. If you could recall, it was Kolebu who first announced an increment. And we came in to say, look, wait a minute, it was illegal. That was when I got a hint that they had sent a proposal to Parliament for the increment. And so around that time, the conversation was about reduction of the 380 or government taking the whole thing, absorbing the whole cost. So if you could recall again, the presidential advisor on health came out to say that the president was looking at an alternative, sustainable way of financing the dialysis. The then minister, Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, also came out to say that government was looking at a sustainable way of financing the dialysis. A lot of people, and so all the conversation was revolving around either an intervention or absorbing it in totality. So I quickly got in touch with the Subsidy Legislation Committee chairman. In fact, this never came to the Health Committee. So when I got in touch with Dr. Ayini, he told me he also has the same position. They were not going to allow the increment of the cost of dialysis. And so later, and in fact, what happens is that when they bring these documents, it's voluminous, very big documents, thousands of items, so they don't bring it one by one. These emanate from the agencies to their mother ministries, then the mother ministry will send it to the Minister of Finance. Then the Minister of Finance will bring it to Parliament. So sometimes thousands of items. So I'm told that these documents was brought to the Subsidy Legislation Committee, and at the meeting, this is what the chairman told me, they never agreed on increment of their cost. They told the Ministry of Finance to get back and waive the taxes and duties on the medications. And that is what they agreed on. And so this is a provision or regulation. After a discussion, it goes back and they lay. And once it is laid, after 21 days, it becomes law. You understand? And so, per what the committee, decided, there was no consensus or there was no agreement or there was no approval for any upward adjustment. Again, after all the noise government made about sustainable way of financing it, when they brought the 2024 formula, the National Health Insurance formula, there was absolutely no provision. I've heard the CEO of National Health Insurance grant an interview that government has made a provision of whatever. In fact, the CEO has no idea. It was the committee that insisted that, look, there has been this issue of dialysis, and so let's try and ring-fence something. And so the committee agreed to ring-fence 2 million Ghana cedis. We took it to the plenary and it was approved. And that 2 million can't do much. Out of the 8 cycles, the 2 million cannot even do more than 2 cycles. And so all we're all looking forward to here is government raising some funds or coming out with any innovations to absorb the total cost or some kind of interventions. Only to hear that government says Parliament has approved, an increment of the fees of dialysis. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Even if you cannot find a way of reducing it or absorbing all the costs, why do you have to increase it? Why? And Ghana will not be the first
Akandoh, you're making it appear as though this were done on the blind side of Parliament.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Something can't be foisted on Parliament when you have not deliberated on it, right? The Hansard is there. It captures, the activities of Parliament.
That's a completely different thing altogether. Please, let me take you through this. This is pre-laying. So what happens is that such documents, such regulations, when it is laid, previously they don't even refer them to the subsidiary legislation committee, but due to one or two things, Mr. Speaker decided that, look, before such documents are laid, they will refer it to the subsidiary legislation committee to cross the T's and dot the I's. And so after referring to the a lot of the discussions go on at the committee level. And then when it is done, sometimes they will refer the documents back to the ministry. And once they do what has been agreed at the committee level, they go ahead and lay. And to be fair and to be very, very realistic with you, these are I'm telling you, it's about thousands of items. So when they are done, the assumption is that what has been agreed at the committee level has been captured. So it becomes very difficult for you to go through one after the other, about 1,000 items, one after the other. And so I have spoken to the chairman, and he tells me that, look, this is what at the committee level, we never spoke about, we never discussed any increment. What we discussed was about the waiving of the duties and the taxes on the medication.
So Akandoh, let me get this clearly. What you are saying is that even the current increment, is it illegal?
Well, there are, as far as the committee is concerned, they never agreed on anything of that nature. But
please, hold for me. I want us to do this just so everybody understands. So the move from 380 cedis to 491 cedis, you have no knowledge of it?
I personally have no knowledge. And as far as I'm concerned, the chairman tells me the subsidiary legislation committee didn't agree on that. That is what he tells me. And as far as I am concerned, the ranking member of the head committee, this never came to the head committee.
Wow. What is the next move then? What can be done from the committee level, from the parliamentary level? So our brothers and sisters are dying. They are watching colleagues die. And if the right things are not done, Desmond, who comes all the way from Cedi every week, he should come at least twice. He comes once because of cost. How can he afford it? What is the next move?
My brother, if anybody in the country has spoken about this issue, often it's me. I've spoken about this issue on several occasions.
Yeah, but what is the talking yielding? That is the question. Talking, what is it yielding? You're a member of parliament.
That is what I can do. I don't hold the purse. It is a talking, that is my responsibility. So if the one who is supposed to implement it refuses to implement, what can I do? I do the talking. I bring pressure back to government. If government is deliberately not listening, my brother, tell me what next can I do? What can I do?
What do you want government to do? What can government do? I've heard talk about the NHIS and bringing people on board. What can government do?
Government is the one taking all the taxes in this country. Can't they do anything? Government can actually raise the funds and make it available for the operation of dialysis in this country. Why can't government do? In any case, there could be a balanced situation where we can raise 50% of the money from National Health Insurance. Look, like we do when we are buying vaccines, counterpart funding.
Hello? Hello? Well, let me bring in Dr. Tano now on this angle as well. So looking at the things we've discussed in terms of management, right? What more can people do? What should people know? How much more can we try in our own ways to prevent ourselves from getting here? Yes, you've mentioned check your blood pressure off and go for medical checkups, among others. What more can we do, Dr. Tano?
All right, so thank you very much once again. And I've actually listened to our leaders. I mean, also come and join in the talking. So I'm wondering if our leaders will also be talking like we talk, and I'm not sure how we are going to solve the problem. And I was hoping that we'll get people also on the call who would get us answers, because what you people see us and when, once a while, we discuss dialysis, everybody feels sad about it. And afterwards, you go back to your normal lives, and I go back to these patients, and I see them every day, and it's very sad. So sometimes we need to talk solutions than, politicians now coming on, okay, what can I do? And I ask myself, I mean, not long ago, the other party was in power. What did they do? And we can go back and forth, but I think we need to sit down. Until kidney disease hits a family member of yours, until kidney disease hits a friend of yours, trust me, it is no joke. And we see it every day, and it is worrying. So I'm hoping that this conversation will lead us to get answers, not just a talk shop, and then we move on. Having said that, to the ordinary person listening to me, yes, what can you do? And I think we need to own our health also. Like we are hearing, if we are to put our lives in the lives of our politicians, chances are that when you run into trouble, you are going to run, you probably are not going to get help. And we are hoping that dynamic changes. And I'm hoping we are able to get to a point, I mean, that where the ranking member mentioned that indeed, just like people get malaria or enteric fever or typhoid, you call it, or hypertension, and they get some respite, how is it that you get kidney disease and you're on your own? And it is very expensive, like the pharmacist mentioned, that hefty taxes are placed on these medications. Now you are sitting in a place, you write medications and your patients cannot afford. And we have the people who can make these things change. And they also come and sometimes keep talking and hope that, okay, they throw something in. We need holistic solution to the dialysis crisis in this country. Let me talk now to the people who can, hopefully, who can listen and hopefully...
And please, Doc, if you can make that your final point so we can manage the rest of the time. I will come back to you for your final thoughts. Yes. So
I hear you. Thank you so much. All right. So in terms of the education, I think we've mentioned the key things. And trust me, some of the key things that we mentioned are simple enough. But if we are able to take care of it or do it well, we prevent a lot of things. How to prevent kidney disease is actually very simple. And even before your panelists in the studio actually mentioned how they got the kidney disease, I told you that chances are that it was through hypertension. And both of them mentioned things that actually shows that it was hypertension. The other one said that the first time he was well. And that is it. If you are walking around and you are well, I beg you, don't assume you are well. Please go and get things checked. Simple things like your blood pressure, we could pick it up. His creatinine was picked at about 400. If he had probably gone earlier, and it was picked at 100, chances are that would have delayed him getting to dialysis. So the first thing is that let's own our health. Right. And preventive health is cheap and it's easy. Everybody can do it. Once in a while, check your blood pressure and make sure that you know what it is. The eye thing is also a complication of the blood pressure. If your blood pressures are high, right, it can cause blindness. It can cause you not to see well. And that's what the other person mentioned. So that blood pressure thing is very important. And I think that it is important that, like we mentioned, that in terms of our diet, in terms of our exercise, in terms of once a year, if you can, check your kidney function. Ask of your family history. Your parents have diabetes, they have hypertension, or probably they had kidney disease. You don't speak to them. You think you are still young. Ask and know and check and be able to prevent yourself from getting it. Trust me, it is cheaper to prevent kidney disease. But when we get kidney failure, then it becomes expensive. And like we are seeing, right, even the government is running away from its cost.
Let me come quickly to Mr. Antwi. You deal in the medication, you bring them in, you manufacture as well. What from your angle could be the solution? NHIS taking the tab or picking the tab, what quickly do you think could be the solution?
So, as I earlier indicated, first of all is the hefty taxes that we face at the port. Secondly, as you rightly said, if NHIS can absorb some of these medications onto the list, and then again, even absorbing onto the list, cost will still come in. Because if they absorb it onto the list and it is too high, it will be very difficult for the NHIS to reimburse. So it still comes back to the taxes. I believe that for such serious situations or for such serious diseases that can easily tip patients over into death, there should be some form of removal of total taxes. If we think about, let's say, the million drugs we use, just a few of them might be or fall in the category of the management of the kidney disease. And therefore, I believe, or the management of CKD. And therefore, I believe that if we just fence these few drugs and just strike off duty or reduce it to the barest minimum, it is going to go a long way to help these patients. Because look, considering some countries, they have some sort of fund which helps to reduce the cost of some of these medications for some of these patients. And if you consider some funding from some countries which reduce the medications or the cost of medication, the resultant effect is that patients will go to the hospital and the cost of treatment will be very, very low because the cost of drugs would be struck off totally.
Right.
So I believe that in our very near steps or in our very immediate steps, we can help cut off the taxes.
Okay.
And as I earlier told you, we are even pushing for VAT exemptions on some of the medications.
Right.
You know, medications are not things like food or, excuse me to say, cement or some things that maybe we can do away with, or when the cost is too high, it wouldn't affect us that much. Medications are very important. If you are pushing for things like VAT exemptions, I don't think that the powers maybe or those in charge should resist
so
us
this
in any
part
way.
of the solution, NHIS could intervene, and then VAT exemptions as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Entry. Let me come into the studio as we wrap this conversation. Doc, I'm sorry I cannot come back to you, but I'm sure you've made your point, right? Dr. Tano, I'm sure you've made your whole point on these matters.
Yes, I think it is fine. So thank you very much.
Right. Desmond, where does this leave you? 380 to 491 cedis in one fell swoop. Where does this leave you? The last time you went, you were denied dialysis because you didn't have the money. Since that time, have you been able to go for dialysis?
Somebody called me and add the amount for it.
So someone was able to support you and you got it. But what does this mean for you now, this increment in cost? How are you going to manage?
It's on to God. Always give everything to God, because if government is not stand on it, He is holding us from since last year, and now you are telling Him this.
What do you want government to do?
I want Him to put it in NHIS, as the brother was saying. It's supposed to be in there.
So dialysis can be free or maybe at a very reduced cost?
Because we see ourselves, we are young, you see. We get a small guest for like 13 years, 12 years, 8 years. How can they afford?
And they also have kidney disease?
Failure, yes. 6 years also there. Yeah.
How can they cope?
How can they work and get the money to do the dialysis? So they have to be.
I also hear that at Kolebu there is a benefactor who is giving some subsidy for some of you who go there. Is that the reality? How much?
Okay. According to my president for dialysis patient, what I heard was, he said that one is taking half. Then we patient too are paying half.
I see.
That's why we are paying 380 at first.
That is the first.
So when we add the donation and then our payments, like 760 or
so in actuality, now that it's gone to 491, it means that the real cost is about twice that.
760 they bring it out. It's working. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Because so the reality is the 760.
Why the person is paying like 2 sessions a week,
right?
And we are still paying 380. You understand?
Right.
If you said it's 380 and you are going to increase to 491, why the person is still paying the 3? It's First Sky who is paying that amount. Yes.
What do you want from government? What do you want from leaders in this country? What do you want from the health setup in the country?
Okay, we are pleading on them to either put it in the national health insurance or maybe solicit for some funds to reduce the cost for us.
You know, this is not a place any one of us would willingly want to be. And it really breaks my heart that young people like this are, you know, experiencing what they are. It is heartbreaking. And I would also plead. I mean, he has mentioned one group that is aiding. Corporate Ghana, if you can. These people are actually suffering. Some of them are dying on a daily basis. If help can be extended, please, let's help. Until the right mechanisms are put in place. Corporate Ghana, come on board. Do something. Partner the multimedia group. Partner Joy News. Let's do something. Let me give, I'll give the final comments, the final word to Kwabena Mintah Akandoh. You have just about a minute and then we can go. The way forward from here. Kwabena Mintah Akandoh.
The way forward from here is that, fortunately, Parliament is sitting on Friday. I'll try if I can catch the eye of Mr. Speaker to bring this matter to the floor so that we see how, going forward, we can find solutions to these challenges. But let me say that as a member of Parliament and the ranking member of the committee, our work is more than 80% talking. It is the responsibility of the executive to implement the talking. So let us put the blame where the blame must be.
Okay.
All these things, if the executive had come out to say that, look, we are absorbing the cost, we wouldn't have been where we are at the moment. We have been speaking about this issue for the past 1 year. They will come and they will also come and speak and they go back and they don't do anything about it. It is even at the committee level that we insisted, not the executive, that something must be put in for the dialysis patient. And so we will still, not until we get a solution, some of us will not relax on it at all.
Well, thank you for that effort, Kwabena Mintah Akandoh. Let me acknowledge those who joined us. Pharmacist Ronald Entry is Assistant General Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. We also had Dr. Elliot Kranting Tano, Senior Lecturer at KNUST, Senior Specialist and Consulting Nephrologist at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. We had Kwabena Mintah Akandoh, Ranking Member on the Health Committee. We also had in the studio Kweku Kwarteng, a kidney patient on dialysis, together with Desmond Enoch Brackle, also a kidney patient. Pardon me. You are the executives.
Organizer and my assistant.
Okay.
My assistant.
So the organizer and the assistant. I like the fact that at least we are ending on a cheerful, laughing note. But from here, we're heading straight to Abossey-Okai. You know, GUTA has lamented the free fall of the Cedi and what it means to their business. On our citizens microphone today, we head to Abossey-Okai with the spare parts dealers. My colleague Sweetie Abochi is on hand. Sweetie, if you can hear me, please paint a picture for us of what you see on the ground.
This has dire consequences for economy. You'll agree with me that the transport industry or the transportation sector is one of the backbones of every economy, be it fuel that we're importing or parts of the cars. All these are heavily dependent on the purchasing power of our currency. And if the currency is not doing well, businesses are the ones who feel the pinch. Now, today we are at Abossey-Okai. When we talk about the transportation sector, I like to think that this is where everything happens. And we want to understand from the citizens how this is affecting them, what they would like to be done about it, and really just understand the real situation on the ground. Welcome. This is Citizens Microphone. If you'd follow me, let's first speak to some operators here at Abossey-Okai. Eja, good morning. And you have to, I beg your indulgence, we're going to be mixing the English language with the local dialects because these businessmen here are not very conversant with the English language. So, good morning. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Now, when's the last time I feel okay as a businessman?
Okay, well, business, we just say, inside the house, you know. You don't import from outside the area about Yemaimu. Sans importing them internet who be here saying to me, Fire Sicano, and Quaman on it. You say, yes, son. Yes, that's why I normally the call $. Now, dollar also a quinimpa, not affect you,
saying they affect him.
Okay, some said dollar no quinimua. You have a free to a guy or saying shipment more $, duty $. What I say, no one can say coffee and say $. It's a cost see the tibia importer no, no coffee the money buy no. And so no, he say, we bet me a yan and sika don't yan and faso. A bassa yan retailers no. Never say yes, so a TB tomb. Now, market, you know, I slow. It's a dollar a cost a buffer one. No importers don't know you don't wash him. They say, a crabby Timiko. You have to say first, no, last 3-4 years, no. Importers best at 10. And this time around, no, best at 4 penny Timiko. Even 10 umpono. Now import a bit to be fighting container best about 6, 7, 8, and not 10 cry. This time around, no. This is dollar now cost rentino. What all our 5 year 2 containers. It's a Panama business, no say they buffer.
So he's basically, to sum it up, he's saying that when the dollar goes up or when the cedi falls, they're unable to buy as much as they want to, and they're unable to even sell at the prices for which they can make profits. So if, for instance, you were taking 10 containers of products, goods, you cannot afford to even get as much containers as possible because your money does not have enough purchasing power to do that. Mpesa will breaking it down, mommy. And your money be senya, almost costing at some point, and then what's the cost now and the difference, so that we understand how real this situation is. Ebia parts maybe now they are me say, idea be say, nay say.
For example, okay.
So we are going to his shop now so that he can actually give us a real feel of how this really works. I mean, it's not enough that we are saying that inflation is causing the hike in prices of these spare parts. We need to understand how much it used to cost at some point and how much it costs now, so that we understand the real value of this price hike. Eja.
Oh, me patwa, okay, shokazo ekitemia. Where matis too shokazo from import from Korea. First, now importers in the bar. Normally make 50 Ghana. You almost to the core outside Abusuka and outside Accra. Near almost 70 Ghana. But see, I'm not say $1 no cost renting importers in the bomb demand 100. From 50 to 100. Imagine. Bend them to Maton.
So this is a shock absorber. Yes. And Tamina 50 cedis,
About 3 years ago, 50 cedis.
So about 3 years ago, this was given to them at retail price for 50 cedis, and they used to sell it for 70 cedis, and now they're giving it to you at retail for 100 cedis. That is double the original price of how much it used to cost. Into see a momo tone is saying.
To see idea, Obiba, Matonabia 120, 130. Now, Crown Puno, Sinabaya, Obiba Beto, Asem Cassie, or bar open old price, no. I don't see my Yanasa. It's to be a banana my market, you have a train honey at the coffee. If you go to the town 1 week now, to Andy, me, why you me, Woma, I'm a mom, I was a chop pony. As a family mine, I'm a transport, I'm in Twandia. Imagine.
Now, even aside the business, and the way the dollar is affecting you, as a married man with a family, like you said, first, Nisika say na we to make sure feel okay. And as you see, I know say na we difference ni saying.
First, na me hende Ghana. I need to me man me ku fie no na bibia okay. We feeding fee ni my free one. But see 200. See 200 na me every blessed day. Me kitaka. Na me talk gas 50 Ghana from Kansas to Accra. Say me talk 150 200. What I say from say me talk 150 200.
If a bank could hear you right now, then I'll be catching.
Oh, me who say, and then be brave or her, a band be trying home baby. Your adibo have an own twin your own. Now, I never be brave or her, a band be trying home baby. It must say, a band on $100, and say, $1 a crumusika. It will quite be our moon for so bit to me, I have $1 number for and they are ban us. And they almost some be trying home baby. $1 no for one. Importers bit for the puppy breed or no edge one. Your maboom be almost school, almost street one on the penco for one edge one. But importers don't know how to trash. Through $1 no. Don't know how to trash it. It is a bank to me, my dollar no for one. Now importers in the door system anymore. But my funny paper, no idea.
Yeah, that's it. So he was just lamenting that as a family man, he used to give his family just about 100 cedis for to keep the house, and now it's double that price. It's 200 Ghana cedis, and he's just appealing to governments that if there's anything they can do about it, then they should help them. It's been a while that we had a stable currency, and it doesn't look like the government has found any policy that can stabilize our currency. But there's another businessman here in Abosoka, and we want to hear what he has to say. Remember, this is Citizen's microphone, so I'll let him tell the story. They all understand what's happening here this morning.
I am from Bush, my company in the Bush. Dollar no asem no de a hard drink. Na a idea was on man, you know, I drink when you're kwan bi so a you be far between because we find near maybe and check once a cast no to see enough of rubber system. But the dollar no a peja a cost rosa on your macra won't to win ton. And any pana babaton is can be way. Scacrono to Upejanas are the whole Baba so I want me to oversell coffin another way be out on over to me and Adia na Ako. That is a wow cranny man. Meanwhile, what's the sense can I see? That's when your man won't to win ton. That is a whole true. Oh, it is a don't have no dear, a killing a harding, a hard business mind for harding, pa, until Okoya will be on way to me a fossil, a boama dollar system. Obia yana a harding into one shop on my fossil.
Na spare parts na affect mo na say
spare parts cry but the my say in this spine date. Just say bibi o ha me wo pa ma cry o. Oh you know me cry spine date wo. Enti spine date wo egudemo. Edu time me you know enkrofo dey short to kakra na kan say dollar na asan pejai. Me wa ye nto me cry me say tiso aboka o. Enti wonu say ade na me cry no say 40 feet na me cry na me twin crabium say me tiso say ma bi say me de kwakoma o me tiso kra enti dem biom because at the end of dollar na me say no kra me say say akoso anka say ka be o say ka me tom na me tom anipa na e ba beta de no.
Right. So not only are they unable to buy their goods, the citizens, regular, ordinary Ghanaians, transport operators are unable to purchase these goods because of the hike in prices. Now, recall that the various transport unions were threatening to increase transport fares, and this gives us a sense of why they are doing that. Because if they have to buy these parts that they need for maintenance to be able to run their businesses at double the prices, and fuel prices are also going up, don't forget that. So at what point do they reconcile the business they're doing, make some profits, and then live some sort of comfortable life? But stay with me for a second. We're going to the other side of the shop now, where okay, so this is the man I'm looking for. Policeman. Yeah, that's to say by waji dollar same we are well, colleagues, they've told us about how it is affecting their businesses. But as an individual, apart from a jumana wo ye wa ha say no, saying that se dollar no ekosura e affect wo life.
Dollar no ekosura e mane bo ede. Is nema oton no e bia 50 Ghana no. Is could do be 2 million. Cause dollar ekosura e say dollar say 15.1. So mubuno no
1480
15.1 they say and auto and fem bono 15.3 how much percentage because $10,000 bia na ye and $1 bibi on chete mu yi $10,000 bia and $1 to so 15 you bro number 15.3 o ko for the man for bo ba du ti obetua abeka adwuma no emfa kora utu de man say utu a o de esu or to also esu temba enema no obi aba ehun hwe aban be hwe dollar no nko wu ye pana ese ye nko hye yen adwuma nyina egu ese abuso kan fom emma nya yam aye emma ska fo nyina ba fom empani fo nyina yan kwara ese u se abuso kan ya u container bia wa bon container ba ko na tu so ko ba first na every day container ba bebre ti aban hwe dollar na adwuma no anam na fom dollar no ye na ese obi aje adwuma avec le petit choc à côté fille cause on m'a annoncé dollar na ase adwuma.
So just to summarize or interpret, he's saying that there was a time that you'd see containers here every single day offloading goods because, you know, the business is booming. Now, you hardly see any container. And I mean, from my own observation, I haven't seen any container here. It's been 2 weeks, like he's saying, and there's only been one container here to offload goods. One, because they can't afford to be buying goods, and two, their customers and clients cannot afford to buy these goods. So this is how it ricochets into various businesses, because if your transportation system or transportation is so expensive, you're tempted to also increase your prices of the various goods and services that you apply, so that you can also make some profit. But we'll speak to one last person before we go. Citizens microphone, we have to let the citizens talk.
So bank 2 weeks here.
How do you mean?
Every 13, 5, 14, 15, say 15, 2. And when you the dollar, you're turning fat. You got 15, 2 for transfer. Transfer company, we are going and call Bank of Ghana transfer them. I'm Bank of Ghana, you're running him one yet. I one down in him, was one to be on yet. Transfer rate to obey with a franco. But we can be for farm. Was I would $15 $1. You know, a man is you know, auto the man to Aboka. What's cash? The Bank of Ghana, one down, I'm sorry.
If the Bank of Ghana is sleeping, they should wake up. Those are his final words. And the policeman speaking. Yeah, thank you, policeman. So he's saying that you can't even plan because the fluctuation is just so. You simply cannot plan. One day you wake up and it's 13 cities. The next morning it's 14 cities. The next morning it's 10 cities. And so you don't even know how much money you should. Don't forget that the city's performance against these major currencies determines our purchasing power. So if you don't know for sure how much you need to be able to purchase your goods to, you know, so that your business can go on, then you're at a loss. One last person, and then we can wrap up this conversation on the AM show. Eja Michao, what are you saying?
Me how on say senior me penny policeman kan baby $1 no kono omo no mo kra nyoma ayenso yedidi omo ne ase asabi yen kakra den eton sesi anope wo ba yehwe nka ba this time ka hayina nka hayama even container kura beba 1 month 2 weeks na nipa ba kwa yi container ba ko $1 ne de ha importers no nti ya pomo chew omo hwe mayen because $1 no kosoro bibia kosoro ukoma kata wa woni sese de ekọ nti yesre no ogbo no ho modern but on yire no ho na senior $1 ne kono o ma ne mbra fom eba fom a importers no so mo beto mo ba sese ba bi $1 ne kono akosoro dodo nti yesre mo ye pom chew o mo hwe ne mbra fom mai.
Well, he's also just adding his voice to the call that if there's anything that the government or the Bank of Ghana can do about the situation, then they should help them because the people are feeling the pinch. All these businesses, don't forget that the ordinary tomato seller in the markets, when he or she goes to the markets, they have to ensure that they're making some profit, you know. So if you're buying things that used to cost like 20 cedis and you go and sell it for 25 cedis and now you come to the market and it's 40 cedis, then you also have to increase it to make some profit. And that's how come everything seems to be so expensive. Remember the man saying that he used to just give his family 100 Ghana cedis? Today, what will 100 Ghana cedis do for you? I'm looking for one more person and then we can wrap up this conversation. Well, we cannot find that person, but I think that's all time will allow us to do. This is the Citizens Microphone on the AM show. We will bring you more in our subsequent bulletins when we've caught up with all the people who want to speak to us concerning the depreciation of the cedi and our purchasing power as it stands now. Thank you for watching. For Joy News, I'm Sweetie Abochi. Over to you, Benjamin.
Well, that's from the streets of Abasokai in Accra Central, if you like, the situation on the ground, from the lips of those feeling the crunch. Well, stay with us. We'll be back with more conversations right here, and likely we'll also bring you into the conversation by activating the phone lines at some point. We'll be right back. Welcome back on the AM show. Shortly, I'll be telling you about the AFTA and the Africa Trade and Innovation Conference. But before that, attention all HD Plus subscribers. Starting from the 13th of June 2024, SES HD Plus Ghana will provide HD channels to free-to-air TV homes at no cost. This means that all users of the multi-TV platform will have access to HD channels without paying HD Plus subscriptions. Now, there are some key points to remember. One, as of the 16th of April 2024, no new HD Plus subscription purchases or activations will be available. Existing HD Plus decoders will receive free-to-air channels until the 13th of June 2024. 2. Subscribers with active subscriptions beyond the 13th of June 2024 will be compensated. Such customers will be contacted by the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 30th of April. Such subscribers are encouraged to call the HD Plus number, I repeat, 0242 439 872 from the 1st of June 2024. Point number 3. From the 30th of May 2024, update your HD Plus decoder to access the new free-to-air HD channels. Support will be available until the 20th of June 2024, so kindly look out for the over-the-air software and upgrade your decoder upon release of that software. And 4. Users of compatible Samsung QLED and UHD integrated TV sets should note that the My HD Plus TV app and My HD Plus mobile app will not be available from the 30th of May 2024. So do note as well, to redeem subscription compensation, confirm your HD Plus number, provide a valid Ghana ID card, and a mobile money number by the 30th of April 2024. HD Plus will issue the last batch of compensations by the 20th of June 2024 and will not be liable to making any payments if subscribers remain unreachable or do not follow up with a call center on 0242 439 872 before the deadline. We thank all cherished customers for the patronage. And we are also ushering in a new era of television in Ghana, ensuring that accessibility and quality entertainment go hand in hand. But stay with us. Up next, we have a conversation on the Open for Business, the AFTA Africa Trade and Innovation Conference. It's an international conference on the future of African trade and the AFTA. And joining us for a conversation, we have Gertrude Amoko Ama. She is lecturer at the UPSA Law School and member International Steering Committee, Africa Trade and Innovation Conference. Good morning, Gertrude.
Good morning, Joseph. Thank you so much for having us.
It's a great pleasure to have you join the conversation this morning. Right off the bat, I'd like to find out, why did the UPSA decide to come through with this conference, especially on the AFTA, because there's been a lot of talk about it, but a lot of people are also saying, oh, it's headquartered here, but nothing to show. What made you want to go down this road?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. Again, good morning to your viewers. First of all, I think we have to acknowledge that the UPSA Law School has, over the years, created numerous platforms for exchanges between academia and industry and other players on diverse subject areas, be it on banking, international trade, African trade, international law, and so on and so forth. So this platform is no different. We thought it wise that following the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, there's a need to bring together academia, private sector, civil society, trade experts for a conversation and a review of the trade area itself. So this time around, the UPSA Law School, in collaboration with the Leitner Center for International Law and Justice at the Fordham University in New York, and the GIZ, this is also supported by the GIZ, decided to put together this conference on the future of African trade. It is true, some have expressed the sentiment that a lot of talk has gone on over the years, but there's little to see. But for those who share in those sentiments, would want to say that attend this conference tomorrow and Friday and be motivated that indeed something will happen. I mean, there's a lot going on right now with the guided trade initiative and other aspects of the implementation. But for us, we'd want to encourage all Ghanaians and in fact people from across the world to join in the conference and get opportunities to contribute towards the discussion.
Right, and which brings me to the next question. What then is going to be the structure, the format of this conference? What shape is it going to take? And I'm also curious whether it's going to be both virtual and, physical, or what the dynamics are. What can you share with us?
Right. Yeah. So that's a very good point. It's indeed a hybrid conference. So it's actually taking place at the Kofi Ohene Konedo Auditorium on the UPSC campus. But at the same time, there's an opportunity for people to also follow virtually. In terms of the structure, this is a 2-day conference. So it's happening tomorrow, Thursday, the 16th of May, as well as on Friday, the 17th of May. It is an academic conference, but with a bit of a difference, because we are also bringing together trade practitioners and trade experts. It is not your usual or your typical academic conference. This one promises to be much more interesting and much more engaging. In terms of what to look out for, the conference would actually be taking place over the period of 2 days, like I mentioned, but there are also different sessions on diverse aspects of the AFCFTA. So there are going to be different paper presentations on topics such as the AFCFTA and implementation challenges, the AFCFTA and regional integration, the AFTA and barriers to trade, the environment and climate change, and the AFTA and intellectual property, and so on and so forth. So we have received presentations from all across the world, from the United States, from other parts of Africa, from Asia, and so on and so forth. So there would be different paper presentations on different aspects, different sessions of the conference. So that is the structure that the conference is actually taking. But of course, we'll also have the opening ceremony on each of the 2 days, where we'll get opportunity to listen to very distinguished personalities in this area, who I think I'll have the opportunity to mention at some point in this conversation.
Let's go right ahead and talk about them. Those special guests who will be speaking, sharing thoughts on the AFTA integration and how we can harness it. Let us know about some of these speakers.
Right. So we have a very impressive and exciting lineup. I'm proud to say that this conference is actually under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency John Adjei Kufuor, who is the former president of Ghana, as well as the former chairperson of the AU, of the African Union. As well, would also have in attendance His Excellency Daniel Krugh, he is the ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Ghana. Remember, I did mention that this conference is supported by the GIZ. So the German ambassador to Ghana would also be here. I also need to mention that a special guest of honor is His Excellency Wamkele Mele, who is the Secretary General, like we all know, of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We'll also have speakers in academia, and I'm proud to say that Professor Caroline Cook, who is actually a professor at the Department of Commercial Law, University of Cape Town, she's a renowned trade expert, would also be joining us. We also have representation from the National Coordination Office, Mr. Jacob Demfi Edu, who is a senior advisor, capacity building and stakeholder engagement, will be joining us. Of course, we also have Professor Melaku Desta. So he's a coordinator of the African Trade Policy Center at UNECA. UNECA is the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And then we will also have Christine Tim, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Global Startup Ecosystem. Before I forget, I also need to mention that our guest speaker is also the Honorable Michael Otribefi. He is actually the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. So these are the distinguished speakers.
That sounds like a high-powered, list you've put together of speakers, and hopefully all of them show up. What numbers are you expecting, at least for the physical numbers? What are your expectations?
Well, that's an interesting question. So this is actually happening in the main auditorium of the Kofi Ohene Konedo Auditorium, like I said. And if you have been to UPSA and seen our plush new auditorium in recent times, you see that it has a huge capacity. So I wouldn't want to put specific figures to it, but we've received hundreds of registrations, like I said, from all across the world. There are people who have, although they are coming from outside Ghana or are joining from outside Ghana, have said that they would actually be on the UPSA campus for the conference. So hundreds. In terms of the virtual participation, even much more. We have received so many registrations from across the world, and you can also follow virtually if you are unable to come to campus.
What are the modalities for participation? If someone watching us wants to participate, how do they get on board, whether physically or virtually?
Right, thank you. So particularly for the virtual participation, I beg your pardon, you have to visit the website of UPSA, the University of Professional Studies Accra, or also the UPSA Law School, and there's a link for registration. So you need to actually register your participation. Then after you have registered, you'll be sent the Zoom details or the virtual participation details for you to participate. There's also registration necessary for in-person participation. Again, you just look out for our social media handles on Facebook, on Twitter, on X, and on LinkedIn as well. The registration link is online. You just have to register, and then you walk into the Kofi Ohene Konedu auditorium tomorrow to participate in the conference, as well as Friday. It's a 2-day conference, Thursday and Friday.
All right. As I take your final words, I also want to ask, just as I started, after wonderful thing, but it's in the application, right? The devil is in the detail. I would ask you as part of your final words, what is the end game? What is the end game?
Right. I mean, that's the question that everybody is asking. But I think that we need to recognize the fact that the AfTA is the future of African trade and is the future of Africa. Despite what some may want to refer to as a bit of a slow start, when you take a look at the kind of works that are going into the implementation process, you have no choice but to actually have faith in the fact that this is the future of African trade and indeed the future of Africa. So I want to encourage everybody to join us tomorrow at the Kofi Ohene Konedu Auditorium on the UPSA campus to participate in this 2-day trade conference on Thursday and on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And just to reiterate some of those joining, of course, the distinguished patron is His Excellency John Ajeshkum Kufuor, former president of Ghana. Then there's the guest of honor, His Excellency Daniel Krul, among others. The special guest of honor, Wamkele Mane, and the Honorable Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Michael Ochubefi, is the guest speaker, among others. I'm not mentioning all of them, but you don't want to miss that event. And it's slated for tomorrow and the day after, that is Thursday and Friday. Who joined us for the conversation? Gertrude Amoko Ama. She's a lecturer at the UPSA Law School and member, International Steering Committee, Africa Trade and Innovation Conference. Well, so that is it. Those are the details I was already giving out, that I was already talking about. The guests, the first 4 I have already mentioned. So Open for Business, the AfTA Africa Trade and Innovation Conference. It's an international conference on the future of African trade and the AfTA. Like I said already, it happens tomorrow and the day after. Well, before we get to our filth exhibition in Abuabo, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, that is Drapa, Dubai. You have seen the rest, now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work and take a break from the south. Go up north. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa, Dubai is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It's away from the stress of the south. Now, this is what awaits you. An unforgettable safari experience, an amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using our spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or using quad bikes. Water sports such as jet skiing, boats or canoe rides, various family games to keep you and your families excited every day, great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves. There's so much more. So escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, popularly known as Drapa Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. Just call 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463 for reservations or further inquiries now. Pick up your phone, give them a call. But on now to our filth exhibition for today, all the way from Abuabo.
Traders and households are equally culpable in the insanitary state of the Aboabo Old Railway lorry station. Indiscriminate disposal of solid wastes into drains in the area has left the environment drenched in stench and filth. Despite the cleaning routines of traders at the busy Aboabo lorry station, the big gutter is an abode of everything rubbish, including food packaging, empty plastic bottles and glasses, rotten food scraps, and fruit peels. People resort to urinating in the filthy gutters, heightening the stench consumed by residents of Roman Hill, Ashtown, and Aboabo. Traders and passerbys are exposed to health hazards.
They urinate here, and you can smell the waste, but we have to endure and eat here. They dispose their waste into the gutters when it rains. All the waste are from Alaba. It's not us, the traders. The gutters are choked with waste from residents around. A gutter like this should not be opened or exposed. It must be covered. Aside that, it must be drenched frequently.
Residents and traders attribute the worsening conditions to the neglect of local authorities to clean the area.
A man paying for one real jump on you. A boiler way, any jumma my bassa, some will be a gay, Adia my money, a free power.
Look, country leaders, at how we are living and selling along with waste in this gutter. If sanitation task forces were working, would we be living around this?
Call for action have been mounting. The affected persons are demanding immediate intervention from the local government to address the stalled gutter crisis before it escalates.
We need to keep ourselves clean. There should be a barrier to sieve the waste from the water and separate them. Some boy near you go we so fregata it in some more central to they should quickly make markets ready for us to trade there. This isn't a healthy place to be. Buying more markets then I strike it any day. This buying one. Why?
Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Liabo.
Well, that took us all the way to Aboabo, and that was also part of our filth exhibition series. As we cap off the conversation, we're also giving you our photo of the day, and yes, it also talks about the rains and when they come, what that means for life in different parts of the country. This was part of the gridlock we experienced on the back of the latest rains. And in some places, once it rains, it's going to take you, if it takes you 1 hour to get home from work, it's going to take you probably 2 or 2.5. And that's what we witnessed in recent times on the back of the latest rains that poured, that hit. And for some people, they literally had to walk home because there were no vehicles. It was a gridlock in some areas, and it was practically better for them to walk. So that's our photo of the day. Well, let's have a birthday wish, an additional one for today. This one says, happy birthday to Precious Sewa Echampong, CEO of Presti's Unisex Parlor, Abwaso Hemang in Kumasi. May the good Lord satisfy your days with riches, health, long life, and everything good that you deserve in life. And it's from Greenfield Anakwa Ajiman and Nanama. They wish you the very best. Let me also reiterate, happy blessed birthday to Mrs. Barbara Ode, 50th birthday today. Chief of Sales and Distribution at Advance Ghana Savings and Loans is from your wonderful husband, Peter Ode, the children, Baba and Darren, and friends within the Methodist Church Ghana. And a belated wish, the last one. Belated happy birthday to my first fruit, Vera Ohima Shome Akrofi. On this day, I pray for divine blessings, favor, joy, peace, prosperity, long life, and good health upon your life. And it's from Lady Florence Akrofi and your humble servant, Kwabena Akrofi of Asempa FM. That is from yesterday. I failed to do it, and so I'm doing it today. And guess what? If today is your special day, if it's your birthday or special anniversary, we celebrate you as well. You're special to us. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I've done this in the company of our guests and, of course, my colleague, Sweetie Abochi. Stay with us. Joy News Desk is up next. We will connect with you again, same time tomorrow, as we bring you the AM show. From us to you, we love you. Have a good day.